to him. Praise ye Yahuwah. Monument, 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 monument. Just give us freedom. That's all we need. Give us free. Congratulations, you have graduated this level of matrix. You're acculturation. No, you couldn't wait the program creator. That's what you were made for. That's why you were brainwashed. You are alpha, beta, zeta, programmed by your creator, and you call him your savior. What if you from bondage? Have if you choose of knowledge? Congratulations, you have graduated this level of matrix. Your acculturation. I know you couldn't wait to beat the program creator. That's what you were made for. That's why you were brainwashed. You are alpha, beta, zeta, programmed by your enslaver, and you call him your savior. I free you from bondage. I got a few Jews of knowledge. Jews of knowledge. Monument, 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 monument. Just play so free. Give us free. Yahuwah shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other Elohim, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But Yahuwah shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurances of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would Elohim it were even. And at even thou shalt say, would Elohim it were morning, for the fear of thine heart, wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. And Yahuwah shall bring thee into Mitzrayim, again with ships, by the way where I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and these shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall redeem you. Greetings and welcome, everyone. Welcome all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are at our study session. I am Chief Yuya, and I want to welcome all of you. I see some of you in the chat already. So I want to give thanks for those of you who have came through to lend your genius and your inquisitiveness and just your good overall vibrations and energy to the experience. Of course, as you know, every Friday, every 6th day, every Yom Shishi, we get together and we just kind of kick the willy bobo, the cultural, spiritual, philosophical, and esoteric and occult willy bobo, where we try to share thoughts with each other and try to elevate the vibration of each other. And of course, I'm Chief Yuya. I am the founder and head instructor of the Anu Life Global Ministries, which is a component of the Anu Nation. And for those of you who are familiar with that, you know what we're about. We're a community-based gathering, and not so much a religious one. Though we do explore a lot of spiritual understanding and we do explore a lot of cultural understanding, but most importantly, we focus on the resurrection of the mind, and the mastering and the uplifting of the highest ideas and the greatest vibration and deep thought that we all hold within our inner wisdom. All right. So I want to thank you all for coming through and being a part of that. And for those of you who don't know, you can always go over to anulifeglobal.org. The links are always in the bottom banner, and they're always in the descriptions of the segments of the lives as well. So you can always just grab them from there as well. But anulifeglobal.org. All right. If you want some more information on what we're about. And we also have a toll-free number that you can call and leave a message and ask a question and get more intel as well. All right. So all of that is in the description and you're good there. So, and thank you for the one. I'm looking, I always check the chat. Thank you for the one, Safta Hava, letting me know that I am live and direct. So I appreciate that. And again, welcome all of you who are here. I wanted to say something too, in terms of like sharing. I know sometimes people feel a little apprehensive. I've consistently heard people say things like, well, I don't want to sound dumb, or I don't want to say something that makes me sound dumb. And usually not saying anything and hiding is what makes you look dumb, but you got to understand that it's all about vibrations and everything is vibrating at a different level. And it's not wise to look at the vibration of another person and say, well, because I'm not vibrating at that person's exact frequency, then I have no fellowship with them. Because life doesn't work like that. The universe doesn't even work that way. Something as simple as like school, right? Some schools you go to, within them, you'll have the middle school and the high school will be in the same building. Sometimes when you go to like smaller towns, or the elementary school and the middle school might be in the same building, right? So if you look at vibrations and sort of advancement in that way, um, your high school would be like your higher vibration, right? And let's say like your middle school or your elementary school would be your lower vibration. But they are all a part of the same process of schooling. They are all a part of the same process of learning. So, and each one feeds off of the other. They're a step. So they don't function exclusively, of one another. So it's like you just go right into high school because you're just so deep, or you have to go to elementary school or middle school because you're just so dumb. It just doesn't work that way. So everything exists that way within that sort of combination of higher and lower. And it's no different than the conversations that we've been having around family, divine family, and union, and children, and things like that. A union is the same thing. It's just a combination of frequencies. And sometimes we get it a little twisted because people like to run around and talk about how spiritual they are. And like I've said so many times, that's a very silly sort of proclamation, because nothing exists without having spirit. Now that's not necessarily doesn't necessarily mean that those same things have soul, but they have spirit.
if we're able to perceive them. They have some sort of force, some sort of life energy, you know, even if it's not carbon, but there's some sort of life and energy. So sometimes we get this thought like, well, maybe my ideas or my thoughts or what I would want to build on are just so very worldly, and these people here are so very spiritual. And that's not the case, you know. Again, a worldly vibration and a spiritual vibration are both a part of the same continuum. They're just different frequencies of a vibration. So a worldly vibration will be a lower vibration, and a spiritual vibration will be a higher vibration. But no different than high school and elementary school, they are part of the same system. You know, they are still part of the same system of living, whether it's what's in the world or whether it's what's in the spirit. You know, so never feel like, you know, what you may have to say is just not as like deep as somebody else, or, you know, well, my angle is more practical and I'm not into the spiritual stuff as much. It's okay. You're probably more into certain things than you might realize. And I know many people who claim to be like super spiritual, and they are far more materialistic than they care to admit. You know, so yeah, never feel ashamed by that. Peace to everyone in the chat, you know, as well. Again, I'm just giving shout outs again. I see folks are stumbling in, you know, come walking through the fog, you know. So welcome everyone, of course, who are coming in. And willfully you were able to hear some of what I said, at least in terms of like not being intimidated by what appears to be so spiritual, so beyond you that it's unrelatable. Don't sweat that. Um, Also, pinned to the top of the chat is the I can't call it the call in, but like if you want to join the conversation, you can come in. And you don't have to have your camera on if you don't want. You know, if you just want to do audio, just want to talk like it's a phone call, you could do that. Or you could have your camera on and make it more human and organic. But if you don't want to be an organic human, then sure, you could just use audio. But but nonetheless, it's pinned to the top of the chat. So if you want to come in, just click on that, and then the first victim. No. Peace, brother.
Got him.
Hello. You got him.
Welcome, sucker.
Slow walked them right up. Slow walked them right in. Yeah, you know how y'all doing. All right. Yeah, you know, just come on. If you got something to say, it's all right.
Grab him, quick. Peace, Chief. How you doing today?
Word. I'm beautiful, man. Things are cool. How about you?
I'm doing well. I'm experiencing a different energy. I'm no
In what
longer
way?
in Albuquerque. I'm back in
Oh,
Freeport. I'm no longer in Albuquerque. So
okay.
Wi-Fi works. You know,
Right. You on point now.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
on a Wi-Fi jail, so y'all can see
Mm.
more of me. Yeah.
I don't know if that's good or bad, man, because sometimes when you got that janky Wi-Fi, it's like it forces you to really cherish. You know, you find yourself like watching DVDs. You're like, yo, we can't even stream no movies, so we're gonna appreciate this
Right.
DVD.
Part with a VHS.
Yeah, man. You scrounge and looking for stuff, but you appreciate stuff more. You know.
Yeah. This is a side note, but it's kind of related to what you were talking about, like the cyclical nature of things. Because I just heard like cassette tapes are sort of
Hmm.
making a comeback.
Oh yeah, 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 big time.
I was like, huh?
Yeah.
But you would think it would be irrelevant, right? But even with what you were talking about with people being afraid to join in, it's better if you aren't talking about what we're talking about because, or at least you don't think you are talking about what we're
Mhm.
talking about because it has an opportunity to expand. Like
Right.
I haven't heard an Anu person talk about plumbing, so we can have a conversation about plumbing and then Anu information expands into the areas of plumbing and the plumber gets to apply Anu thought to plumbing.
Right.
So it's like the reciprocity is there. And
Yeah.
I think the intimidation is like, I won't be saying the same thing, but that's what we want. you want to say something different. You want to add something like a unique vibration to the cipher. That way we all get to expand our minds in a different way. I don't know nothing about plumbing. I've seen a plumber work, but there might be a science to plumbing or a chamber of wisdom to plumbing that I would never explore if a plumber didn't say, I'm gonna join in and at least say peace and say I'm a plumber.
Right.
You, Chief, you've spoken before about doing work on your own houses. So that in and of itself is a recipe for a beautiful exchange. I just wanted to add that to the cipher.
No, that's a good brick, man. It reminds me of there was a brother up in Canada who picked me up from the airport once. I was doing some work up there, and he was a plumber, and like really into plumbing. Like he's like, man, I just love it. And he was like telling me about all these new innovations in plumbing and stuff, and I'm like, all right, like, okay, cool. I can't wait to get one of those, like, I'm tired of using the same old plunger, but I told him, I said, yeah, man, I said, it's an interesting work being a plumber because it's like an interesting combination between Ogun and Oshun work, and he was like, I never looked at it that way. I was like, yeah, man. I was like, and I shared with him, I said, I was a network engineer for like over a decade when I worked in IT for a long time, building networks and designing networks, administrating networks and things like that. And I said, that is plumbing because you're getting one thing to travel from one place to another without there being a whole bunch of collisions or any collisions, and everything has to flow smoothly and has to be, as quickly available to a person, like with plumbing is instant on, and when you're doing work with, high speed networks and stuff, you're always striving towards the instant on experience, so I was like, yeah, like networking it's got a very eschew kind of swag to it, but it's really Ogun. And I said, when you're plumbing, I said, you're welding, you're working with iron, you're working with, of course, PVC pipes, copper, brass, and you're working with water. So I was like, it's a very spiritual thing if you think about it, because you're controlling this container of consciousness, this water, as it flows around people's homes and under people's homes, and in some instances over a person's home and things like that. And you're controlling the flow of what may come in that's good and what may leave that's bad. And he was like, man, I never looked at it from the spiritual perspective. He got like super amped. He was like, yeah. Like
I'm using this.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna go on my car. So it's like, yeah, when you share those different, there's dignity in everything that we do. And sometimes when you share, different people look at it from a different eye. Me looking at a plumber, and it's not just that, if you would have just been like, yo, I know plumbers personally, but it was the fact that he was so excited about being a plumber is what got me excited. Like, yeah, you know what? That's a real, like now I'm getting into it.
I gotta add a brick to this bill. I can't just let you be excited by yourself.
Right, exactly. You know what I mean? So that's the thing, man. It's sometimes it's the enthusiasm, and unfortunately, sometimes we hide that enthusiasm if we don't properly value what it is that we are excited about and what others like. I remember when you were doing a drawing before, and I asked you in the chat, I was like, yo, is that chalk you're using? You was like, yeah, I'm trying a different technique. I just get amped off of chalk drawings. I think there's just something about like first of all, like I like fire. So like that was, like you using chalk, like it just feels so primitive to me. It's like if the paper or whatever canvas you're using, if that was a piece of wood or pressed wood and the chalk was a piece of burnt wood, I just look at it like, yo, you can make this whole amazing image just from a piece of wood.
Right.
It's just fascinating to me. And then the way when I see people do chalk drawings with the smudging that's used and the angling and the shading, and I'm just like, yo, it's just different.
Right.
It's different, you know, and I just think it's the dopest thing. And I'm still probably learning why I think it's so dope, you know.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah, but
it's cool.
it's just dope to me.
It's cool when you can make your own charcoal too. I had a situation. It was last Yom Shishi. I went camping. I wanted to because my bug stuff came. Um, I had a chip to Freeport because to have a chip twice it didn't make sense. So when I came here, I went out camping to test it out, and I
Hmm.
was like, all right, I'm gonna do all the studying. I'm gonna go out in the woods. I brought all my books and stuff. I didn't bring no pen, so I couldn't take no notes. So I
Hmm.
was looking at the fire I had burning, and I was like, I'm gonna use some of this charcoal from this wood.
Right.
It's a different sort of thing. But even like, because you said you do some drawing, right? And I thought that would be cool. If
Yeah,
you
but
took some of
we
the charcoal that you made, you.
yeah, we ain't doing no drawdown. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that set me up.
Hey, you ain't gotta show nobody, but I thought it'd be a cool meditation.
It is. I mean, that's really why I got into it. I'm not good at it. I'm like that's drawing is probably the worst thing I do. You know, between drawing and my penmanship, yeah, yeah, it's not what you probably thinking. You know, it's way worse.
I could type though. I could type.
Yeah, I type like a mother effer, boy. I tell you, I used to do that Mavis Beacon typing
Right.
program. I used to kill them. You know what I mean? But something about it, I don't know, man. And you know what? I draw because I've always been fascinated by artists, by visual artists. I think it's just such an amazing thing. And mind you, my bar for visual artists is super low because I'm easily impressed. Like I'm super, you know what I'm saying? But it's just like I think it's so amazing when you can take something that's in your head and then translate it, especially when you're creating something like a face. And most of the time when you see faces created, there are like distinct techniques to maintain the symmetry in the face. So I love like the mathematics of it and the angling
Mm.
of it. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
like we could just use circles and triangles and draw anything we want. Like I just think the angling of it is amazing, but I'm not good at it. But I just like
Yeah.
I want to be down. I want to be.
I like the mathematics of it too. I always envied people who they don't seem to measure at all. They don't seem to need measurement. They just start putting stuff on the. I said, how did you space that out?
Right.
How did you space
Same
it?
here.
They just start with the eyes and the nose and everything, and then they draw the shape of the face. Like how you working backwards, dog? Like
Man, I always wrote all my essays out of the margins. I was always past that pink line because I could never measure out. Like I start out the letters real big. Oh, this is looking nice. Oh, damn. All right, let me. you know. So yeah, I've always been impressed by that too, man. Somebody could look at something and know that this is supposed to be here. Don't worry, it's gonna work out when it gets over there. And it's like music to me because we do a lot of that. You know, when you're composing music, there's and with music, I understand it completely. I can hear everything in my head, or I know what the driving element is. You know, it may be you may hear me working on a song and I'm working on a triangle. For an hour, and I want that triangle to ring just right. And it's like, where's the rest of the freaking song? And it's like,
right.
this is the song. This is the song. I'm telling you, because everything is built around this triangle. Once I get this triangle right, it's just gonna fall together.
Right.
So I can visualize it, in terms of audio, but when it comes to putting a world together using shapes, you know, yeah, my brain doesn't go there in that way, man. So I'm always impressed by people who can do that, who can see the form, and especially people who carve. I've done
Right.
some carving,
Yeah.
and I like carving. I'm actually better at carving than I am at drawing, but I'm still not that great at it. But to be able to see a piece of wood, or I've done like iron work as well. And there were people who were way better at me. I just like touching, like timber
Right.
and iron. Like I just like being it, like bending
Right. You
stuff and
get to
beating stuff
interact
up.
with it.
Yeah, I don't care what it looked like, honestly. I just want to,
Yeah,
mangoes. I
I
like the
understand.
smell of it.
Right,
But
right.
it's still an amazing talent for people who can take nothing and make something, or totally remix the reality of a particular thing. I think it's amazing,
Yeah, I've loved seeing. I always love seeing people who are like street performers do that because it's it's at such a different level, where it's almost like there's no scale with street performers. There's not like, okay, you get to this level and then you're good. It's like I love doing this, and
Mm,
I don't care if I gotta eat ice and sleep
right,
outside. I'm doing this,
right,
and anytime you run up on me, I'm doing this. Like I am in my nature.
right.
Come like love hell or right, come hell or high water. I am in my nature.
This is what's happening. I
Right.
mean, that's true wealth. I mean, we want to build wealth so we could do what we want.
Hmm.
Well, some people are fortunate in that early on they have already found what they want to do.
Hmm.
So, sometimes we look at currency like that's currency. If I can use some form of currency, my form of currency may be my adaptability. And I may be able to say, like, yo, I'm gonna sit on the corner all day and play the guitar and just sing. And I'm okay with eating oatmeal and trail mix every day.
Hmm.
Like that's my currency. So and that affords me this lifestyle that I want to live. Sometimes we think that it's the excess and the abundance of something that then buys our entrance into this utopian life that we want. But I think I've said it before, like you only really get things through sacrifice in this world. So it's the more you give away, the more you get, not the more you go get and then the more you get. It doesn't make
Right.
any sense. Like, what I'm saying?
I gotta
Math
go get
doesn't work
stuff to
that way.
get more stuff.
Yeah, I got to get. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, you got to give up to get. You
Hmm.
know, and that's the reality of it. So yeah, you're right, man. Street performers, or I mean, I know a lot of people. It's a guy I used to play with, man. I was in a Jimi Hendrix tribute band for years, some years ago, and good brother Ira was a drummer. Ira had no sense of humor whatsoever, man. Like I think something was broken inside of him. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, yeah, he had I don't know. But anyway, he's a nice guy. But you know, uh he used to do these gigs in the subways all the time. And these were like bona fide gigs, man. And he'd be like, yeah, man, he'd be like, you should come down and play at this gig, man. Because in that band I was playing bass. But I play horn too. So he'd be like, man, bring your horn. We're doing a jazz gig. And I used to be like, that ain't no gig. It's the subway. That's the subway. What do you mean? It's like there's literal rats running in front of us. There's rats, there's dudes who's like like bugged out of their mind. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not a gig. But to him, it was like, we got a gig tonight, you
Right.
know? And and I always I never went down there with them. But but I always appreciated that sense of like respectability that a person brings to what they do. Like no matter what I do, I'm doing it with dignity. Whether we playing on a stage somewhere at a jazz fest or at a rock fest, or I'm in the subway, and there's drunk dudes, whatever, like, twerking in front of me, you know what I'm saying, and throwing like throwing boogers in the tip jar. Like I'm still gonna approach this with dignity, man. And I think that's a sign of somebody who's pretty freed up,
Yeah.
because they don't need that external validation of what you say. It's like as a musician, man, my whole life, when people found out that I was a musician, for some people, the first thing they would always say is, can you read music? And like that's the big validator,
Hmm.
and unfortunately, I can read music.
It's like, yeah, I can read it.
Yeah, but it's like I would be like, I don't even want to give you that. Like I know where you're going with that, and I don't even want to give it to you, but yeah, I actually can read music. you know. But like if somebody learned by ear, it's like, oh, okay, like
I could
yeah,
actually attest to that because I learned a couple songs by ear when I was younger on the piano.
Okay,
It actually, can you play music? And usually, I mean, can you read music? And usually, if you ask one of those, like one of those signifiers or one of those validators, if you answer one of those questions, another one comes right after that. It's like a never
yeah.
ending. I want to build you into what I think a musician is. And if you check off all the boxes, then you're a musician. But if not, you ain't saying nothing.
But it's only if you're a dark face. If your face ain't dark, you don't get asked questions like that. You know, and I know more dark faces in my travels as a musician. I started out in Latin music, went from Latin music to rock music, went from Latin to rock to funk, and I think maybe gospel after that, right? Jazz came a little bit later, but all the dark faces, well, not all, but many of the dark faces I knew could read music. Other folks, nah. They was jamming in the guitar, and I mean in the garage, and like, you know, just rock out, bro. You know, like, and I played in those bands. That was cool too. You know what I mean? But yeah, for the most, like, I taught myself how to read music, and I've known other brothers who maybe took a lesson here or there, but we understood, like, yeah, if you want to get certain kind of gigs, you got to be able to sight read, and we want that money. We want to be able to get a gig with this one. You know, some gigs they give you 7 days of practice. Hey, we're going on tour. You got 7 days or 10 days to prepare. We doing 13 songs a night. You know, you don't know any of them. Yeah, you're gonna have to learn how to read unless you got a crazy memory. But the thing about it, like you said, there's certain questions that come, and it only come to certain people. You know, because after is, can you read music? Well, what kind of music do you do? You know, and if you don't say classical or jazz, it doesn't matter. And it's because they're again affecting that. They're dismantling and disregarding, honestly, dark-faced genius. Yeah. You know, like dark-faced children, especially the ones who go to church. You know, there's always that little boy at the end of church who's standing there while everybody packing up. He want to get on the drums.
He can't wait till everybody, like, you gotta wait till
standing there. You know, so he can get on the drums. You know, there's always that, man.
Wait for Pastor to wrap up with Brother Jones. It's like, just at least move 100 meters to the left, so you can't stop me once I start.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Every church has that. You know, there's always girls, no matter how ratchet they are, when it comes time to get up, they take their gum and put it on the pew. All right, y'all, you know, and then they can sing. They sing their behinds off. I didn't know you could sing like that. You're such a hood rat, but that talent is just there. I know plenty of hood rats like that, man. They shock you. They get up, be singing, you know, his eyes on the sparrow, and I know he watches. They're like, what? You know what I mean? So that's the thing, man. So they discredit that world. And it's like, you got to validate yourself by this world that they don't even understand when they asking those questions. Because, so what if I could read music? Like, music is meant to be heard, not read. I should be more talented. The fact that I can hear it and play it. It's like a chef who can eat something, identify every ingredient, and then reproduce it. To me, that's more talented than reading off a recipe book. Right. You know, and then you're gonna say, like, well, do you play classical? What is classic? Mm-hmm. Because what you calling classic is not older than other music that just had a drum and a balafon and a kora. That should really be classical music. Let's go listen to some music from Mali. That's classical music. That's old. That's classical. That's ancient music. You talking about something that the Moors brought to you to calm your ass down. And you want to ask me if I could play that? I don't need to be calmed down. I'm all right. My chakras, my hotep is good. You know what I'm saying? Your hotep was messed up. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, even when you validate some of the questions are like, you don't even know what you're asking me. Like, what you're asking me is ludicrous. Because stride piano ragtime is much more difficult to play than a lot of classical pieces that you could teach a 7-year-old. You don't hear no 7-year-old playing no ragtime. That joint is hard. You gotta have like 4 arms to play ragtime properly. You know, it's a lot of bouncing around. You know, the left and right is doing middle harmony chords, then top melody. The left is doing bass line and then lower alto chords at the same, and it's all going syncopated at the same time. Like, that's much harder than I could pull out a piano, play somewhere, and then a lot of these classical tunes, you know. So it's like sometimes the validation is they don't even, the questions themselves are not even validated by anything that's sensible, because unless you have your hands in the middle of these sciences, you don't even know what the heck you're talking about when you're asking certain questions. What's up, El Karar? What's up, Mayuba?
Peace, brothers.
Peace.
Shalom.
Okay, Karar.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. That's similar to how some people are like, you speak so well. Where did you go to school?
Right.
Oh, you mean I didn't have a mother and a father who spoke this language that you forced us to learn? That's what you trying to tell me?
Right. Or here's the other little cute little secret. Everybody from the Bahamas speaks well.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody knows me,
we got to talk to y'all. Y'all keep coming here.
You try to discredit me, you know what I mean? But like, every island has their thing. Every Bahamian I know is like, they have a very interesting command of the English language, you know, and a very comfortable command of the English language despite education level, you know. So come and learn a little bit about the culture.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like Mayuba, like, you ain't gonna meet a Haitian who doesn't do some form of art. Like, that's just, it's just in the blood. Like, they're gonna be painting, they're gonna be carving, and if they can't do none of that, you meet a Haitian with no arms, I bet you they got some poems. I bet you anything. Haitians love their poems, boy. They love their poems. Are like food for them. They love their poems.
Or they have the art of cracking jokes. They'll make the best jokes on nothing that make no sense.
See, it's art. It's like, you know. So if you know the culture, this is certain silly question. I would never ask a Haitian, like, where did you learn how to do art? Like, I know where you just do it. Now, you might have went to school. I'm not going to discredit that, but you just do it. You know. Yeah, man. So what's going on, fellas?
Oh, I was gonna say, Chief, you know, adding on to what you was talking about, like, you know, you'll be surprised, you know, what you find an interest in that you never thought you would have an interest in or could do. You know what I'm talking about, especially when it comes to things like plumbing, because you be like, I can't do that, you know. But I find that interesting because now, you know, I'm looking at some of these other professions and skills, and I never thought, I'm interested in, you know, learning about, you know, bricklaying and things like that. I never thought that was interesting before, but now, you know, sometimes you want to take it like Kitty, but like, I've always wanted to play a cement, you know, something like that.
Right, so this makes sense.
Yeah, right. You know, makes sense or whatever. Or like you was talking about cooking, like when I never knew how to cook, and then all of a sudden, you know, I'm forced into an environment where I have to learn from scratch, and it's more to it than just reading a recipe card and things like that. And then I would do these things, and then, you know, my buddy to 11 would be like, "How'd you do that?" Do what? You be like, "No, get it to look like that." I'm like, I don't know. I was nervous most of the time because I was scared, but how did I do it? You know, you were surprised, you know, but like, it's an art form, and you just intune yourself into it, and you just focus on, and you just basically let it guide you. But also, it's like tapping into that memory, because like for me, when you was talking about, you know, teaching yourself how to play, it was like, it reminds me of how, you know, like my great aunt taught herself how to play piano, you know, and most of my family members, that's also how they learn. They learn how to, you know, play piano that way. And then what they would do is they'll use some nail, especially the women, they'll use some nail polish and write on the keys. And for some particular reason, it's like, my sister used to do that. Now I see where she get it from, you know, and things like that. And then you right. I did think about it. I was like, yeah, some of the hood readiest girls I knew was some good singers. I was like,
Right.
ooh, I never
Angelic
paid
voices.
attention to that. Yes, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's like some people just think that they don't have a brick, you know, to build on. But when you pay attention, be like, oh yes, you do, and now you're exciting everybody else about this brick that you didn't think that you
Right.
had. You know what I'm talking
Right.
about? Like with the plumbing, it's like, wow, I went to, you know, tied all that esoteric, you know, from a goon to a shoon up into it, but like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about? So
It's
yeah,
your core expression. Like we all have a core expression sometimes that we don't know or we don't tap into. And that core expression will transcribe to so many different things. But the work is to keep you from learning that core expression. Like I said, I'm not really a good visual. Now I'm really good with digital art. Digital art, I'll shock you. I do some things. But with like drawing, I'm not good because I need something to start with. Now I know that about my core expression. I'm not a very insightful kind of person. I'm not even inventive, but I'm a very innovative person. So you got to give me the invention first, and then I'll make it better. I have the mind of an engineer. So if you put a pencil in my hand and a blank piece of paper, I don't know what to do because my brain doesn't work that way. But if you give me an instrument, and if I just got to hit the instrument, I got a drum in front of me. Like if I hit my drum right there, the sound is already there. So all I got to do is rearrange that sound around to make it into something that the ethers want to say right now.
Yeah.
But
Right.
you gave me something to start with. Now, if you just give me silence, I'm screwed because my brain doesn't work that way. So now, what does that translate into? Well, one day now I go forward. I'm a barber. Okay, I can cut some hair now because there's already hair there. But nowadays, barbering is different. Dudes come in looking like me and like, yo, I want a Lenny Kravitz. They want to look like my like I ain't no magician. I'm a barber. I don't know how to do that. But these new dudes are magicians. Like they're like, oh, you want to look like my Yuba? All right, here, put a little glue and a little sew in, and I got out before all that came in. Right? I'm from the old school. You got to have a big nappy head of hair first. I'll work with that. Give me the landscape, right? You know, but you start to. You gotta give me something to work with, you know what I mean? But it's like that's the mind of an engineer. I'll take something that's already there, make it better. So, but everyone has it. Now that's my core expression. So once you find your core expression, so I could apply that to many things. You know, I used to love to take cars apart and go in the engine, see where certain vacuum tubes were. Like, should that be there? How certain wires put, should that wire be like that, man? Can I make that wire shorter? You know, can I reroute it? Stuff like that. I like that. But if somebody was like, yo, we're gonna build a car from scratch, nah. give me something to work with first, you know. So once you find that core expression, you'll find that there's probably a myriad of things that you can do based upon how your divine expression is and how, you know, what you came. Some people come to innovate. Some people come to improve upon what's here. So if you're tapped into that, then you just now got to see different vocations that are related to improving upon what's here. And you'll probably soar in those particular areas, you know?
Yeah, that makes me think of the value of having community and not being by yourself,
Yeah.
because you might be what's the word? You might be a victim or a casualty of, like you would often say, Western society is expert at removing your self-confidence or making sure you have no confidence.
Right.
And you might be a casualty of that and not realize that just because you don't have confidence in the tools that you've been given, and even the tools that you might have sharpened over the course of your life, just like, this is what I do. I can't help doing this thing. So I'm always doing it, but I just don't see the value in it because no one's ever told me that was valuable, or just the opposite. I'm always told that there's no value in this thing, you know. So just because I don't feel like it's valuable doesn't mean it's any less valuable. Or like, if I don't think a crescent wrench is valuable because everyone tells me, oh, you need the model, the Mark III crescent wrench. That's not a Mark III. So, you ain't taking apart, right? You ain't taking apart no cars with that, you know. But if you need to get it done, and that's all you got, and you're in a situation where you gotta use it, you might shock yourself with, oh, this thing is useful. Well, why did I never think it was useful before? As opposed to being surrounded by people who's like, well, why do you think it's not useful? No one's ever asked me that before.
Because, you know,
told me it wasn't.
We're surrounded by poor people. That's the problem. So everything you do has to be based on, how old are you now? 13, 14? You know, man, a couple of years, you're going to have your own place. So as a young person, you constantly have this fear and pressure of, I got to get out here and figure out how to survive. So let me do away with all these things that are quote unquote childish, you know, because you're growing up with people who have an impoverished mindset, as opposed to, if you grow up with a sense of abundance, then you'll realize that there's time to explore your gifts, and that pressure isn't there to just keep a roof over your head when you turn 18 and 19 years old, you know, and when that's fed, there's all sorts of genius that will come out, and the value won't be based on you need this to survive. What if we were all given proper inheritances? And by 15, 14, 15 year, my house is over there. You know, I'm 14, 15. So, you know, my mother and my sisters still bring my food over to the house. And my job is to figure out what great thing I'm going to be for my community.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
I had this good friend of mine who played the kora. He gave me a really big teaching one day on following the purpose, right? He's maybe in his mid-50s, and he told me that, you know, he said, Mayuba, I'm condemned to playing the kora. He's like, I tried a lot of things. He's like, I tried doing other things. I tried doing other jobs. I tried doing gardening and this and that. But he said, you know, the instrument, the music, the rhythm of what I had to do, if I'm not doing this, I'm not able to live. And it was his first time fully committing. He had already committed for the last 10 years, but this time he said, you know what, I'm going to fly to Spain. I'm going to go to Mallorca, which is that small island. And he left his 2 children with his ex-wife here in Canada. But he made that leap to go there because he told me, I have to fully commit to my music. And as an artist myself, when I was talking to him about, you know, the different things that I do, and I've shown him, and he knows me. And he also knows what I don't show to people and what I don't share. He took the time to kindly let me know that, you know what, you're a coward. You know, he said that you have to allow this to come out because it's not for you to keep for yourself. And that had always hit me really strongly because, you know, even from what I did share at the time, he knew really what things that I can do and that I have done. And when he left and traveled away, that really stayed with me as a reminder that be authentic and do share and do bring out what we create, right?
It's like a responsibility you have to do that. Yeah. It's similar to like I think that's similar to any form of like wealth building and wealth expression. To not do it is cowardly. You know, like when you have the possibility and the ability to expand, whether it's the artistic wealth of who you are and you don't, it's a very selfish thing. You know, all great things that we have should come out, period. You know, it like your tombstone could be as long, like the inscription could be as long as you want. Here lies, you know, it could be 50 things. Like, that's cool, you know, but to transcend from this body and have people never know what you had to offer. It's horrible because there were millions upon millions of ancestors who came together to make you. And it was like making this Messiah child, you know, like this one is going to have this. If we put this combination together with this combination, this one will be able to play the kora properly. And then you're like, but you know, I don't want anybody here. Like, what? So like millions of years of of ancestral genetic engineering, and you're shy? like that's, you're shy? Like, really? We got to start over? So it's really like a crime.
Those are gangster ancestors. Take his house.
Destroy him. Yeah, because you know, so I agree with your friend, man. Like, yeah, man, it's our duty to, especially as men, to present a full expression of all the light that we have within us, man. You know, I wanted to, speaking of Canada, I saw peace, Logan, by the way. Logan's in the chat. Shalom. He said he's from Canada, by the way. That's why I was talking about Canada. He said you're in Canada. Just give some context. He said, this strong, I was looking into how the banking system works, and it was mad confusing. The Federal Reserve, and once they print money, it's automatically debt. Also about the IMF and their shenanigans. Yeah, man. The banking system is deep, man. When you deal with the Federal Reserve, especially there in Canada, you guys did a little different thing, or they did a different thing than they did in the U.S. back in the days, because Canadian was partially backed by the gold standard up until 1931, I believe. And 1931 was when Great Britain came off of the gold standard. So when they came off the gold standard, they took Canada off at the same time. So then from that point forward, Canada's money was only backed by floating exchange rates, you know, which is no different than what is in the U.S. U.S. we have fiat currency. We came off of the gold standard a little later than that. Richard Nixon did that, you know. So the money is not backed in Canada or in the U.S. by anything other than your belief in it. And you know, of course, gold itself has an intrinsic value because it's a rare metal, you know, if you just look at it from a social perspective. But yeah, Canada's money, even though it fluctuates, sometimes it's a little better than a dollar, but it's funny money too. It's monopoly money. Yeah. A lot of people don't know that. It's monopoly money, just like the US dollar. They're both monopoly money because they're not backed by anything other than these arbitrary floating rates. You know, as far as the International Monetary Fund, which is the IMF. Well, the first thing to understand, like you said, the Federal Reserve. God, the Federal Reserve isn't even federal. It's not so that's the first thing to understand. It's not even federal. It's not a government agency. It's an independent agency that receives government oversight. So that's a critical thing to know, because the Federal Reserve is nothing but a cartel of independent banks. So me, Mayuba, El Karar, Menelek, we have some money. We say we're going to each establish banks. And we establish these banks, and then we control how much what we have in the bank is worth and how much it's going to cost you to borrow from us, so forth and so on. And if we see Sister Maria, she's got a town somewhere, she's doing so well that people are forgetting about our banks, we will help to orchestrate a war in her town to bankrupt her town through the cost of war. Then we'll slide in and say, well, hey, we'll give you a loan. You want to rebuild? We'll loan you some money. You know, and you'll never be able to pay us back. So now we own you as well. So the Federal Reserve is a very deep sort of institution, because it sounds like it's just like one agency or one government department, and they just handle, but it's not one anything. It's a conglomerate of banks. It's a bunch of different banks. And those bunch of different banks are not technically federally regulated because they're not a federal organization. you know, but they put that tag on it to make you seem like, you know, that something that you have more security than you truly actually do. And they work hand in hand with the IMF and the World Bank. You know, they're all pretty wicked. Yeah, man. So I can understand why it would be confusing, because Logan, it was meant to be confusing. You're not supposed to understand it. You know, that's the whole point. It's supposed to maintain that mystique over it, so you never really look into it. And you know, that's why they crashed the Bitcoin. Like, you're never supposed to look and say, like, is there another way for me to get things? You know, do I have to get things the way you want me to get things?
So
You know,
would you say that the way the Federal Reserve and all those banks are set up is the same way how in crypto you have the securities and you have the property, and how other than Bitcoin, a lot of the other cryptos are seen as securities versus Bitcoin being seen as a property?
yeah, it's a prop. No, I wouldn't say it's the same, and that's because of the lack of centralization when it comes to crypto. I would say that that's probably one of the biggest differences. You know, whereas even though we're talking about it's a conglomerate of banks, there is a centralized, you know, constitution on how they're going to operate. You know, so there is no well, just the very mystique of it, right? So for instance, if you put something on a crypto exchange or on the blockchain, if I send you something right now, anyone can, you know, like, you could just look up the transaction. We could see exactly what occurred. And there are so many different records that we can include within the blockchain with that you can't necessarily do with pretend money. So though they're both virtual to a degree, one allows you a buy-in. Like, crypto allows you to buy into it, to say, hey, I'm based on this transaction and this dealing, I'm going to trust that this occurred, because the way we're doing this, it's a node experience, in that there's no hierarchy of the great computer, the great crypto computer that's controlling everything. Whereas, like, with the World Bank and the IMF and the Federal Reserves, we feel like we have less of a choice of buying in. Like, you go to the store, like, we take this currency, you have to spend this or else. You know, so I would say that lack of centralization within crypto is one of the biggest differences to me, you know.
Oddly enough, that's cited as the biggest danger. Like, they often say it's,
Yeah,
you shouldn't get into it because it's unregulated. Like,
right.
you don't own it. That's what you try to tell me.
That's exactly what that means.
Right. The language of it. So you try to tell me, with all of these receipts I got 7 different receipts in 7 milliseconds, but your junk, where I don't know what's going on, once I give you this paper, once I give you this form asking you for money, and you give me the money, I don't know what happened in between there.
Or here, something as simple as this. Let me try to send my U-Bot $50. See how long that takes. 3 to 5 days.
Yeah. How much they charge you? they gotta get their little cut. Transaction.
You're gonna charge me $10 to send him $50, and it's gonna take 3 to 5 days to arrive. You know what I mean? So, as opposed to me sending something to him on the blockchain and it's there, and I can pay for how quick I want it to get there. Right. I pay a little bit extra. He gets it in 3 seconds. You know, so yeah, man, it's a sign of the times, man. But I wouldn't even say that crypto was is the answer. It's just something to pay attention to, because many of these systems, they start out great and then they turn into a way to remove wealth from the people. Yeah, you know, to keep you crippled. If you remember some years ago, and let me just say about crypto, like, I invested in Bitcoin back in like 2011, 2012, somewhere around there. And the company Bitcoin, not even in Bitcoin, but the company itself. So I've been an early investor in crypto. So I'm not like trying to shoot crypto down per se, but I I said years ago, like hard commodities, ammunition, gold, food, land. Those are your best investments. Even other people are better investments. I'd rather take some money and send Raheem to school to learn how to farm than, than buy more AT&T stock. That's a better investment, or send him to school, teach him how to fight. Hey, what's going on, brother? What's happening? Yeah, man.
Peace.
Raheem about teaching him how to fight.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
He knows I can fight.
I
just can't fight like that, but I can fight. I just can't fight like,
There we go. Yeah. Okay. Now we know what the next workout video gonna be.
I'm gonna practice my moves.
You'll be hitting heavy by for 10 seconds. Workout for the day. Golly.
Yeah, man.
But I've been I don't know, I wouldn't say building on it, but it's just been on my mind a lot.
Yeah, shalom to you, young brother.
I said peace. I said peace, everybody.
Yeah, we on shalom time right now, my brother.
Sorry,
it is.
Shabbat
Yeah.
shalom, my brothers.
Where's your Hebrew swag, brother?
Shabbat shalom, my brother. Shabbat shalom.
All right, there we go.
All right. But yeah, just the idea of kind of like moving forward as a man, like kind of making things happen. Like I know you spoke about as a man you kind of gotta have a vocation, a good vocation.
Yes.
Right. And then being able to kind of be able to see that through. And for me, I was looking at some of the things that have been going on. And it's kind of along the same lines as we were just talking about, like just being held down by certain things, and kind of how do you find ways around like getting things done? Like even in like we're in a space right now where like there's not much work, like where I'm at, there's not much like a lot.
That's all over.
It's kind of hard to find like extra work. So like I'll be looking at different ideas, but okay, I can kind of get I got extra time here, I can fill in a slot here with some extra time, or I can fill in something over here. And not really seeing any fruits from even kind of trying to put things through. And I was listening to some music, and it was kind of speaking about like some conscious reggae music or whatever. And it was just speaking about like trusting the Most High and stuff like that. And we speak about that a lot on the calls, like trusting the Most High. And if you put the Most High before you, it's called things will change. But I'm also on the fence where you also spoke about where you said maybe right now we're gonna be suffering for 10 years. Maybe it's not time where things are gonna get better. Maybe it's gonna get worse. And I've just been on the fence. Okay, how do I kind of game plan this? Like I'm trying to like see, okay, I could do this. I could do this. This might not work because I've tried this already and it's not really working out. Like where do you go in these kind of predicaments?
Mind map.
Yeah, like mind mapping thing. Like I've been doing that. Like I've actually been doing that on like different digital platforms, like just checking out, like using, for instance, I got a Word document open right now with just different ideas and seeing where they could go, looking at different like even incomes that can come through, different options, like even if moving may be a better option. But I'm just not, I'm trying to, like my main question is, how do you start to kind of put things together in a way where it could actually be successful?
Okay. So
I sounded like a lot.
If the universe had the perfect woman to give to you, but you weren't gifted with that perfect woman, why do you think that would be? Just a guess.
Not being put together, I would say, like being all over the place. Kind of always trying. Yeah.
Okay. So where you begin is not with what you want to get. Begin with where your poisons are. So one of the first things I would want to know, like, what do you know about taxes?
The most that I know about taxes is that it goes based off of your salary, It also based off of if you're an employee or if you're a business owner. If you're a business owner, you can kind of write off taxes. Certain things can be written off, not everything, but you can kind of use it as a business expense. But when you're just an employee, you can't do that. So they just tax you based off of how much you make.
So you need to read Tom Wheeler's book, Tax-Free Wealth, written by a guy by the name of Tom Wheeler. It's obviously written, well, I won't say obviously, but he's an American, but it's the same thing. Okay. That's an example, right? So what you need to do first, before you start looking at like, okay, I could do this, I could do that, I could do that. Like, is your storehouse prepared to receive opportunity? And there's some basic things that you usually have to learn first before you get to that point. You know, like, let's say for instance, if I'm like, yo, I want a vintage Benz or vintage Porsche, right? Before, and this is literally what I do now. Like, so matter of fact, it's not even hypothetical. I make sure I tend to work on all my own vehicles. I like to do all of my own work, but I make sure that I have a hookup. If I get a vintage vehicle, I make sure I have a hookup on parts before I even buy the vehicle. I factor that into the cost of the vehicle. And in some instances, I make sure I know, like, I like German cars. So I make sure I know a good German mechanic before I even buy what I'm going to buy. Whatever I ever buy, I make sure, like, if it's a car, I got a hookup. Like when I was driving a Lexus all the time, I had a guy, I still got actually to this day. He works at Toyota. And if you come to the Toyota dealership after hours, he hooks you up. He'll bring you up on a lift, to diagnose machine, everything. Because Toyota and Lexus is the same thing, right? Yeah. But if I didn't have him, I wouldn't drive Lexus. You know, I got a guy, he's from Uganda. Really nice brother. He works on German. He does Mercedes, he does Benz, he does Audi. Really good mechanic. If I didn't know him so well, you know, he knows I do a lot of the work myself. There's times he even came to my house to see what, like, I'm working on something, man. I got this part. I cannot bring it to the garage. Just help me out. He's come by the house, you know, and like help me out, right? If I didn't have him, I would be spending a lot of money in repairs. Like if I didn't have the know-how and have him in my corner to call him and say, hey, where can I get this and where can I get that, right? So some blessings you have to also make sure you have the space for, like you're prepared for it. You know, so I'm using that as an example. So I want to get certain work opportunities. Do I want to get certain work opportunities? And what happens if my tax bracket changes? Or let's say, what if I do start something independently and I don't have an understanding of taxes and I get audited and I lose everything?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so things about taxes, things about law should be very valuable for you to learn. So you want to build up the cushioning underneath what you want to do first. That's where you begin. The opportunities are there for certain people, right? You should also be looking at lifestyle design. Like, you know, okay, yeah, you're like, I can do this, I can do that. All right, but you're eating right now, you got a roof over your head, right?
Yeah.
But you don't need to hustle. You should not really hustling. I'm gonna be honest. Some people gonna take offense to this. Hustling is for your women. Men shouldn't hustle. It's not a manly thing. Plus, it messes with your sleep rhythms, and then that messes with your testosterone, and then that messes with your stroke game. Okay, so you really shouldn't be hustling. You know that whole. And I know y'all see me do it. Y'all shouldn't do it. But I never sleep. You know, I barely sleep and I'm always at work. That's just because I'm like an addict for my purpose. You know, so I'll go to sleep and be sitting there tapping on my actually, I'm at my computer. You know, so, you know, but don't be like that. That's not actually a good way to be. You want to set your life up so that it has sanity, so that you're getting proper sleep now, you're getting proper nutrition now, you know, things like that, so you can receive the things that you want. And at your age, it should be about strategic moves. If you don't need to hustle and like, all right, well, I got to get this little money, I got to get this. If you don't have to do that, fall back for a minute and think strategy. right? So if you were thinking, like you said, yeah, there's different careers I can go into. Give me an example of one you're looking at, and I'll show you how we break it down.
Sociology.
You said poetry.
Sociology.
Oh, because big brother. Oh, because your big brother did social. Okay, I see. You want to be just like his big brother, Zach. Oh, that's so cute. Okay, why do you want to go into sociology?
Because I actually wanted to do private family therapy.
Why?
I wanted to work on keeping families together instead of separating them, having stable homes for Black families instead of separating them. So I wanted to be able to, like, before when I was saying I wanted to help youth, I was realizing that to help youth, you kind of got to help the parents that are raising them, for them to actually, when they go home, they can help their kids outside of, because you can't just give them something and then but to stay upheld if the parents are upholding it as well.
Okay, so now this is how I would be thinking if I was your age, right? Because some of the stuff is age dependent, right? You could go to school, you can get your undergrad in sociology, or even get an undergrad in psychology and then get a master's in sociology, then get licensed. Over there.
Free game.
Okay, all right. Okay, you can, and then you can get licensed. I wouldn't at your age. So I advise for Zach to go back to school to get his master's. Zach was already well in his 30s when I told him to go back to school. For you, you should be thinking a little bigger because you got more time, right? So if you're saying, well, I want to work with Black families, keep Black families together, then you might want to put yourself in a position where not only you can work as a servant, because you're going to get frustrated with that, but where you can actually write policy, where you can actually control institutions and start institutions, right? Okay. So I would be looking at, if I was your age, like I wouldn't, not at my, let's see if I start with my, no, right? Because it's these things you have to take time into factor as well. At your age, you know, you could, not that it would take this long, but even if it did, you could take 7 years and just devote it to school. You could do that, you know, and still have like a lot of life in front of you, you know. So that's when you start looking at doctorate areas. When you start thinking like that, you might be thinking, okay, 4 years of undergrad and maybe another 5 or 6 or more for a doctorate, or maybe a double master's. I'll get a master's in some form of administration, you know, along with maybe if sociology is the way you want to go. At your age, I would probably even be looking towards psychiatry. You know, be the one who can write papers and research papers about how they're over drugging the children. Because as a psychiatrist, you can administer drugs or not. You get sued a lot, though. That's the only thing. But you got stuff in place for that. But you have the sort of time to like to take it to the tilt. You know, so I would be pulling back and thinking a little bigger, thinking more long term. You're what, like 19 now? So I would be saying, what'd you say? Don't say 20.
You keep saying 19, not 20.
You're 19. I know how to count. You go back and count again.
I was just going to say, you've been 19 for a long time.
He was in 11th grade for a long time, too, but we ain't say nothing about that. Y'all remember that boy couldn't get out of chemistry. Dad, yo, he could not get. And Kim, the root of Kim means black. How you get out of a class that got your race in it? Like, yo, he could not pass chemistry. Then he started calling it science. Oh no, it's not chemistry, it's science. Yeah. So I would say, like, take it to the tilt, man. Like, you need to set a 10-year plan. What is I'll play along. What does 30 look like?
From like, what, are you asking me?
You don't know, but I'm saying that's you need to plan on 30 going backwards, because right now you're eating and you're surviving. You're not homeless. So you found your baseline. So you don't have to go crazy wasting your time with hustles now to do what? To have a couple of $1,000 in the bank? That don't mean anything. When you could say, well, heck, I could go crazy now and at 30 be damn near retired. And really just doing what it is that I have a vision to do. By 30, you could have your own community center. You could have your own clinic. You know, you could have a space where people could actually come and get that sort of help, but it could be a larger sort of experience. It could be a whole family center. It could be a birthing center. If you said, I'm going to devote 10 years to doing this. If I was 20 years old, I would be thinking 30. And in fact, when I was, I was thinking 26, because I felt like 26 was like, I'm officially an adult, you know, but you got to work in the future. So I would say that's where it should begin. If you're saying you want to do something that keeps Black families together, okay, you got to almost kind of like mentally travel. Okay, let's say, okay, I get my sociology degree. And let's say you don't even get your master's. Let's say you get your LCSW. You get licensed at the lower levels. What's the first problem? You know too much. You've been in Anu. You know too much. So you're going to get in environments and be like, they're doing this wrong. They're causing harm. And I can't say anything because I don't have the clout. Damn, I should have got my master's. Then you'll go back to school to get your master's while you're trying to work, right? You'll get your master's and you'll realize, okay, cool, I got a little bit more stain now. However, those who are coming through with doctorates, those are the ones who are actually writing the policy. I'm really just a figurehead here. I need to be at a place where I can actually speak in front of people and say, we should not do this particular thing anymore. And they take notes and listen. Mm-hmm. You have enough time to get some stain. And it doesn't have to be a full-time experience. You know, if you allow yourself time, you may say, hey, I want to have a community center. I want to have a family clinic. And I know that may take me 10 years to build. Okay. You'll be 30. You'll still be young. Mm-hmm. And in between then, if you're focused that way, just to keep it 100, by the time you're 25, you'll be caked up already.
Well, I don't really see that.
Yeah, you say that now, but I know you like tricking that money off. So, but you know what I mean? So you're going to need that money, you know what I mean?
I'm not.
Them christening gifts ain't cheap. So,
I didn't even bring one. I ain't bring one.
So you just like a jerk. You just came to the christening, turning up your nose like petty Christians, and didn't even bring a gift. Okay. So yeah, man, that's what I would say. Like project a little further ahead. I would project for 30 and work my way backwards from there. And if you say that's what you want, don't look at it like I'll have a private practice where I'm selling this service. Nobody wants it. You have to be thinking like this. How do I get the government's money to help my people? Yeah. You don't get that at the lower levels in terms of your credentialing. You get that at the higher levels where you can start qualifying for grants. So if you say, I'm going to put myself on a 10-year track, and it won't take that long, but I'm going to say 10 years. In between that time, you're going to be doing internships. You're going to be doing research projects. You're going to be networking. You're going to learn how taxes work. You're going to learn how grant writing works. You're going to learn how running a business works. So by the time you're ready to bust out and do this thing, you would have had now 5-6 years of experience behind you where you can do it confidently. Mm-hmm. Now you have to say to yourself, everything that I'm doing right now, how does it get there? Like, let's say if you're driving a whip and you're like, well, I want a better whip next year. And it might be like, well, that's kind of dumb because in 4 or 5 years, I'm going to be making such and such amount. Let's say, you know, I graduate school, your age, I'm making $83,000 a year. I could buy a nice car with that and get a nice little apartment while I'm working on while I'm in grad school, working on my next degrees. You know, so I need I need to buy a car right now that's going to last me 5 years. Let me go get me a Toyota. Let me go get me a Honda. You know, hell, even an old Chevy Blazer or Trailblazer, that'll last me 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get the nice stuff later because I have a plan. I have a trajectory.
Good, thanks.
Yeah, as long as you're not lazy about it.
No, I'm not going to be. And I came with my building blocks from last year. I said I'll come with. So I got those. I just gotta pull up the words so I know which words I'm saying real quick, and I'll have the descriptions for you. Got those. I came back with those. So the first one was the offer page. He said offer page.
Yes.
That's where you kind of have like your different offers, but you have to kind of break them down. So you're kind of making things bold. Like if you say you got a 2 for 1 for 50% off or something like that. That's where you see at that top of the website. It'll be big, and then you kind of have a little description underneath. Sometimes they'll say I don't know, it's really fine text. Only applies to some products. They do it on a lot of big ones, but that's one of them. The second one was sales page. That's where you kind of try to convert your potential buyers to actual buyers. So if you're selling products, you'll have your products there, the prices. You want to make your products obviously look real flashy and stuff like that. Price, if it's cheap, make it bold. If it's expensive, make it a little smaller. Because you want to take them away from that big price. The next one was email funnel. That's where you're sending out emails to different various, they could be potential buyers or actual already buyers, where you're kind of getting them to come towards the page or buying stuff. I see your face. I don't know if I'm getting it right, but I know.
A little off.
Okay, I'll come back with that one.
Okay.
I'll come back with that one. And then I forgot to search up one more, so I'm gonna come back with 2 more. I'll come back with 2 more next week, next strong, and I'm
with it. That's a good start, though. I like where you're at. I mean, now I wasn't here, but he'll see it later. But that's a good start. I like where we at. Right. Cool. What's up, brother Chris?
Hey, how you doing?
Everything's cracking. I'm just over here Rick Rossing it. You know, these player haters always trying to throw salt on my game, but you know how that go. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I know you had some stuff for us, brother.
Yeah, I got my list here.
All right.
So this list here is do's and don'ts of starting a family, being a husband.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So the first thing as a husband, you have to have a plan for your career, making money, and entrepreneurship. You don't want to get stuck working for people your whole entire life. Second, take the martial arts. Want to know how to fight. You don't want to be the husband that don't know how to fight. Someone come beat you up, and another man got to come in and help you. Have a savings is the third thing. Have a savings. Don't spend all your money. Put some money aside for rainy days. Devote yourself to the Most High. You shouldn't be devoting yourself to your wife. You should be devoting yourself to the Most High and getting instructions from there to be a better devotee to your family. Live by righteous principles. Every man should have principles that he live by. Have those things. Be a good problem solver. Want to be you don't want your woman going to you and you don't know nothing. Like, she got to go to the pastor to get everything. You know what I mean? She got to go to her mom and them. Her mom and them going to tell her, oh, girl, you should do this. Her mama don't know nothing. You know what I mean? That she's ruining y'all relationship because you can't solve problems, and you taking on somebody else's ideology. Have a good diet plan to keep yourself fit. You know, don't get out of shape. Don't get too far out of shape. You know, have a balanced diet. We eating Burger King and McDonald's. You know.
Okay.
Always learn the law. Equity, trust, common law. Know the law. You gonna run into you gonna run into the police. You gonna have to know something. But know the law. We are governed by we the country with the most laws. So it's gonna affect you.
Uh-oh.
Have a good sex life. You don't look. The reason why your diet should be healthy, you don't want to have erectile dysfunction at the age of 30. You know, you're gonna be shot by the time you get 40 in your 50s. And no woman is staying with you if you can't, you know, put it down on her. You know. Understand nutrition, herbs, vitamins, and some medical procedures like CPR. You know, if you can't get to a doctor, do you have any herbal knowledge to remedy some situations? Set up protections for your family. You know, a gate around your house. You're gonna get a dog or certain locations you live in. You know. Have life insurance. You know, you don't want to be selling plates to get you buried if something happened to you. You know. Always prep for survival. I learned that from you, Chief. I learned a lot of this stuff from you.
It's all good.
Food, shelter, water, clothing. You just said ammo. I added that to the list. Guns and books. You always want to have some form of education if the grid goes down. Another thing you just said: learn banking, learn tax laws and things like that. You know, be financially astute. The don'ts of being a husband. Do not be quick to anger. You know, reaction from emotion. You know, verbally abusive. You know, we didn't been there as men, but that's you would destroy a family being that way.
Yeah.
Poor financial decisions. You didn't went and bought the 22s and put it on a Toyota Camry. You know what I mean? And you got a loan on it. Selfishness. You know, if a person cut for you, you cut for them. Don't be that type of person that, you got to do stuff for me, or for me to do stuff for you. You know, don't be the selfish person. Dishonesty. You know, if you got another girl, just tell her, man. You know, don't be going online and talking about, oh, that's my cousin. Like we do in the South. We do that in the South. That's my cousin, man. Look, man, you got 3 kids with your cousin, man. Being neglectful. You neglecting your family. You got a woman at home. You still running around with your friends like y'all 25. You know, be there for your family. Don't you know? Or your mom call your mom. Your son. Your son husband.
Boy. Yeah, son husband.
Yeah, you didn't put your mama first before your whole family. Come on. you know, irresponsibility. If you teach your family a certain thing and it goes wrong, you take responsibility for it. I learned that from you too. You said one of your videos. You said, my family is going to be known for, you know, it wasn't. I didn't think you say violence, but your family is going to be known for the ones that hit first. You know what I mean? If your family hit first, and somebody got to take responsibility for it, you take responsibility for it.
That's right.
You know, and the last thing is addictive behaviors. No, stop smoking up all the weed, man.
Save some for the children.
You know, stop.
You mean smoking it all up? You mean leave some?
just leave a little bit, man. You know, stop taking the pills, man, and drinking the sodas and all that. Yeah. So that's my list. I can't be on here long. I have to.
Sorry. It's okay, brother. That was beautiful. That was an amazing contribution, man. Thank you so much for that. That was beautiful. Yeah. That was strong.
You welcome. Have a good one.
I'm glad I took
You
notes.
Hey, how you been? Mental leg. How you been?
Doing well. Moving strong. How things on your side?
It's all good, man. It's got better. It got way better.
Good.
Have
Sound
a
like
good
you
one.
got your night spot.
Huh?
Sound like you got your night spot.
Yeah, man.
Good.
All right, brother. Handle your handle. Peace.
Peace, brother. Yeah, well, that was a good list.
That was a very good list, man. Yeah, I couldn't even really big him up as much as I wanted, you know, but that was a very good list. You know, yeah, he had to run, so you know, but that's how it should be whenever brothers and sisters, you know, are conjoining and they're around each other, and there should always be some kind of gym. Because if you're not putting a gym, you taking a gym, you know. So he just threw something, because even if the things like he said, well, I got them from you, Chief, I don't care. That's what I used to tell Zach all the time when I first started telling Zach to go out there and speak. He'd be like, Chief, I just be saying all the stuff you say. Well, say that joint. Keep saying that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know,
created a monster.
Yeah, that's all right. You know what I'm saying? You got to get out there, you know, and put it out there. But that's how it should be, because even if you might listen to that list, like I said, you might be like, oh, well, Chief, you said these things. Okay, but I didn't say them right now. And maybe in hearing them right now, there could be somebody listening like, man, I want a family. I'm kind of digging some of that responsibility, and I'm digging that mission. That sounds like a mission that would be interesting for me to take on. You know, so you never know how we all inspire each other just by throwing some nutrition and some value into the space. You know.
Yeah.
You know, I've never seen my Uber with a button-up shirt, or like they tell you Pablo like I just because he's one of the most laid-back brothers, man. In a button-up, I'm like, yo, he's like a totally different person. He code switching. You know, yeah, I've never seen him look like that.
React to like you give them a gem, or you tell them to do something, and especially like when they're real young, you tell them to do something or how to move, and they look around, and the more people they see doing it, the more likely they are to pick up on it like right away.
Yeah.
I've seen that with like youth too, like a lot, like toddlers. I've seen them more like they learn how to walk faster if they're around a lot of people who can walk. It's like this, like crawling is whack. Like I want to do what y'all doing. You know what I mean? Like it's the norm. I think it can backfire on us too. But it's like, all right, destructive behavior is the norm. I don't care what you're saying to me. I'm looking around and I see people doing dumb stuff. I want to do some dumb stuff too.
Sure, hood rat things with my friends. You know, like smoking, yeah, but cigarettes and yanking and the thing and do everything, my friend. But that's the thing. It's like that's the son of El Kara. El Kara's lost love child. Because that boy looked just like him. Milton Latrarian.
Nah, that ain't mine, man.
He looked like your lost love child.
If my little child is somewhere down south and will talk country and me.
But yeah, man, like that's the thing, that self-efficacy, when you see others doing it and emboldens you, or it could be a certain aspect of a thing that just sparks you. It could even be these experiences here where brothers will watch and say, man, I want to be able to share with people like that, or I want to have a brotherhood like that where, we care if the next or sister. I'm not excluding the sisters, just y'all haven't, dialed in. Where the sisters is like, yeah, we want you to do well. Like, I want my Yuba to do well. I don't know why he's got that button up on. Like I said, he's doing something well already because he's looking clean tonight. Beard is lined up, button up is on. Something's going on. So
he got the glasses on, talking about crypto.
Yeah, I think he went back to corporate America, so I think he sold out on us.
I don't know if it's the lighting, but you look a little whiter too.
Yeah, you look a little whiter. Aura.
Yeah, get to the shade.
A little whiter than usual.
His aura shade. He's not in Haiti with the coconut trees in the back and
there's no sun.
That's the AC. It's too much AC.
Too much AC in Haiti, huh? Yeah. Haiti's hot right now. But yeah, man, some people could be inspired just by that, man. Like, man, these brothers really want to see each other do well. That within itself can be a very foreign idea. Oftentimes I cite, man, one of the things that really got me into community work, believe it or not, this is going to sound so simple. I always wanted to do something for my people since I was like 6-7 years old. Like, I always had these visions of like freeing the slaves, if you will, and it wasn't until I was in my teens, when I was a young teenager, I used to cut hair in this barbershop, and it was a Christian-based barbershop. And I got to see like old bishops, old pastors, and young ministers and stuff, and see how they interacted with each other. And there was this one thing that used to warm my heart. I never said anything to anyone about it because it would have seemed weird. But we had there was this like corner store Jamaican spot across the street where they sell like beef patties and stuff like that. And when you're in the barbershop, you always want a little snack while you're waiting or whatever. And whenever somebody would leave to go to the store, they would always be like, hey, anybody want anything? And I had never seen men do that with each other before. I had never seen men like, you came here to spend money for a haircut, and then you're going to take extra money out of your pocket and buy whoever raised their hand with, yo, I want a beef patty and a Mystic. Back then it was Mystic. Beef patty and a Mystic. Like, wow, like you're going to come out of your pocket and pay. And when I saw that level of, as small as it may seem, but altruism and like excitement, because sometimes that was like, the shop was like a party. So it's like, yo, I'm about to go get some, but it was wholesome because it was a Christian-based barbershop, you see? And that started to spin sort of the machine, the wheels in my head. And I was like, we could be different. We could be a lot different. And then a lot of cats used to come into the shop were like fraternity cats, Omegas and Alphas, and they would come with the brands and all that. Cause it was a clean kind of barbershop. I'm like, man, these cats went to college, and this and that, and they went down south and came back with those Southern sensibilities, but everybody's still looking out. Everybody know me. You, like, everybody knew you. Yeah, there's you over there. Yo, you, how you doing in school? You, like, so it was like this interesting brotherhood that I never ever experienced. And to this day, the brother who used to own the shop, Method, let me give him some props too. He bought the shop when he was 24. He was a young brother, and his name is Rick. And at the time, I think it's still named that. Here He Is was the name of the shop. Here He Is, and it was like Here God Is. right? But he was a brother who I had known for years, like, you know, it's kind of like just a regular local cool guy. And he ended up giving his life to God. And he like just threw everything out from his old life. Like he was like cutting hair for the stars at the time. You know, like he was on a lot of TV shows, cutting hair and stuff like that. And it was like, no, he stopped listening to R&B music, like everything. And he was I knew him as a womanizer. Like he had a lot of girls, you know. And he just one day made the decision, was like, nah, like I'm giving my life over to God. I'm only playing gospel. I'm getting my own barbershop, because he was like in a hood barbershop that we used to all, it was like popular barbershop. He got his own shop, you know, and it was like, yo, there's no cursing in here. There's no this, there's none of that. So that created an environment for me as a young teenager where it was like, this is different. As soon as I open the door and come here, it's like I'm in another world. And that later became the fuel for like, well, heck, what if I had a community like this? It was clean like this, where women could feel safe, but we actually knew who we were. You know, like we were on some other stuff, you know. So you'd be so surprised, right. The spark, you know, the spark. And there were conscious brothers who would come through when we were there, you know, and they would come through and they, you know, we talk little stuff back then. Like, you know, back then Nelson Mandela was still in jail. So they come through with the free Mandela shirts and stuff, you know, we'd be talking and stuff like that, you know, but you'd be surprised, man, what people will witness and again, what it could spark in them. That's why it's important, like Mayuba was talking about earlier, but it's important to put that expression out there, you know, and someone may not exactly emulate it. I later went on to start my own barbershop, but when I first bought my barbershop, I was 17 years old. Which is a thing I don't really tell people that often, but I was a kid. But I knew I could have my own storefront because I saw this 24-year-old doing it. And I was like the only one who knew he was 24. He told me, because I used to make the bank deposits and stuff like that. But it was like, yo, if you tell anybody, I'm punch you in your face. It was like the biggest secret. Don't tell nobody I'm only 24 years old, you know? So when I got my shop, I was like, don't tell nobody I'm only 17. You know, and I got a storefront, and then I got the pool hall when I was 19. So I had two storefront businesses before I was 20 years old. And everyone thought I was in my mid to late 20s because I always look old, right? So, but that spark came from looking at this cat like, well, damn, he did it. And he did it sloppy because he wasn't getting the towels. Like every week, the towel man would come out, you need new towels? Nah. Like, yo, it was only $7.50 a week for towels. Like, you so cheap. You know, he'd be like, yo, you just turn it over. But he used to have me put talcum powder on. They were filthy. He'd be like, yo, rub some bay rum on them and some talcum powder. You know, it's disgusting. I'm telling you, I mean, he'd be mad if I said it now because you know, but whatever. Yeah, you know. Yeah, yo, it wasn't. I wish it was peroxide. Bay rum and talcum powder, and do that with the towel. He had me over there doing that and be like, all right, hang them back up. Because he don't want to spend $7.50 on the towel man. You know, but anyway, that's another life. But, you know, but yeah, man, but you never know what people will see and be encouraged by and what it will turn into years later. So you can't be afraid, just like he wasn't afraid at that time. Because dudes were definitely laughing. Dudes were clowning. You know, like, you're Christian. Like, what? Like, I mean, I believe in God and everything, but damn, like, you ain't got to do all this. You know what I'm saying? Right. I remember one time, I'm going to tell you how I met, damn, I don't want to say his name on the video. It's going to, Sean C, or it's otherwise known as Puff E. Right? Because I don't want it to seem like I'm talking, because everybody's talking about him right now. But you know, we're from the same town. Just because we're from the same town don't mean, you know what I mean? Like, so let me just make it clear. Yeah, that was the other side of the tracks. I live on the other side. Right? But he came into the the shop one day, and I forgot about this. Rick reminded me like last year. He was like, "Remember the time you kicked me out the shop?" I was like, "Nah." He was like, "Yo," he came in and he had a shirt on that said F the world. And you wasn't allowed to curse in the shop. I took that serious. Like, and my chair was near the door. So he came in, I was like, "Yo, you can't come in here with that shirt turning inside out." And he was like, "What?" I was like, "Yo, Money, turn your shirt inside out or get out." I didn't know what records. I don't know who he is. I know he got the wrong shirt on up in here. And he turned back around, turned his joint inside, and came in. He was like, "Yo, Rick, what's up with your little man?" Like, you know, like, yo, he real aggressive, you know. And I didn't know. I took my like serious, man. Like, yo, don't be cursing, don't wear no shirts, no nothing, you know.
At least he gave him an alternative. He didn't say go home, just turn the shirt inside out.
I was like, "Yo, turn it inside out." He went out, it's still right on the side of the thing, and came back with his shirt inside out. Like, you know, but I didn't realize it was him. I forgot about the incident until he reminded me. I ran into him. He was like, "Remember you made him turn this?" I was like, "Man, that was him?" I was like, it was a blur. I don't even remember, you know. But again, encouraged by this young man making this stand. At that time, I wasn't even a Christian like that. I was heavy in the lessons, man. I was walking around letting everybody know I was God every chance I got. You know, but I was very impressed by his commitment. And sometimes that will be the thing that will encourage someone, your authenticity to your commitment, you know, whether they agree with you or not, you know, and they'll fight for you. I was ready to fight for him and for his God. You know, they'll fight for you because of your authenticity, you know.
Yeah, I'm thinking about, like, I think the central theme throughout the whole night tonight has been value and like value systems.
Mm-hmm.
Because like something like that, you don't necessarily need to have money for.
No.
But if you ask someone like, "What are you doing for your people?" They'll be like Dave Chappelle, "I'm broke, man. I'm broke. I got no money." It's like you don't need money, you know.
No.
What do you? It's almost like when you say like what you're being, you know, not really what you're doing for your people. What are you being for your people? You know,
right.
That sort of changes the paradigm, because if you say what are you doing, it's almost like a currency exchange, you know, rather than an exchange of actual value. It's just like how much fiat are you dropping here, or how much money are you dropping there, or are you donating to this place? Are you donating to that place? You don't necessarily have to donate paper, but you could donate your time, or you could even tell a story. You know, go to old folks' home, tell a story, and you might wake up some story that they may spend the next 3 strongs telling stories based off of the one story you told, because you woke up some memories, and those memories woke up memories. You know, so even with that, like, to say I don't have anything of value is like saying I haven't been alive.
Right. Yeah, you're
like,
right.
I haven't been alive up to this point.
Right. So where have I been? You could do something like this. Mayuba, why you have your hair locked?
I have my hair locked. Well, I wanted to stop cutting my hair in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I hate paying for haircuts.
Okay.
And then as I kept growing my hair, I kept realizing that at different lengths that my hair kept growing, I would attach memories and ideas to those different lengths of hair.
Status. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And my hair right now is to my shoulders, but it's actually to my waist, to my butt. I roll them and bring them back up.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like that, for me symbolically, because I was gonna cut my hair at that point when it was too long at my butt, and but that was a phase where my mind said, "Hey, fold it in half," and that's me condensing those different aspects of my life, bringing them back up to a different place, and to the outside world, people think this is my hair length, and this is my kind of how my experience or how long I've had locks. But
Right.
internally, I know, and people close to me know, my hair is much longer, and I've gone through the journeys of I see stories of myself through my hair, and also how to take care of my hair, and my hair taught me how to take care of myself and my environment better. Because one day you go like this, you pull out a lock, and then you're like, you're like, who's responsible for that? And no matter how long your hair is, what's at the foundation of your hair, and do you have the right soil? Are you taking care of your foundation? No matter how long your hair is,
That's
if
right.
the foundation isn't there, you might as well not have locks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, now that right there was all the value we needed. He didn't even do anything. He didn't do anything. But I asked him that question specifically. I didn't know the answer, but I knew there was going to be a deliberate answer. So sometimes it's our purposefulness and our deliberateness in what we do in life that is our greatest offering to our community. The fact that, because the same way I asked him that question, a child would ask him the same thing. Why is your hair like that? And he'd be able to answer the question, and that could inspire that child to something just from him. He's being that's what you're talking about, the being. He's being right now. He's being that guy who inwardly decided, I'm not going to cut it. I'm going to fold it. I'm going to have it. And by me having it in this way, it's also like a deception. It's my own private deception. So it's like a mask I get to wear that you don't know I'm wearing, right? I'm just adding some stuff to it. But, just when you look at it that way, there's a value in him being. So sometimes the greatest value that we can have as men and women is just approaching what we do with deliberation. So if someone asks us a question, we have a clear answer, as opposed to being religious about it. Like I could say, hey, why's your hair locked? He could have been like, well, I like reggae. What? I like reggae. You're like, what are you talking about?
Bob Marley. Bob Marley.
Right. What I mean? He's my hero. Okay. And, but the fact that he has a rhyme and reason behind his expression, the statement is made through the very vibration of the actions. So his being is now imbued with the vibration of the deliberateness of what he decided to be. I'm telling you, sometimes that's the greatest thing we could do. And one of the worst things we could do is to do things unconsciously and mindlessly, because then we lose the faith of those who are listening. We lose the faith of young people when we do things mindlessly, when we have no reason behind what it is we do. Then it shows that, you're just kind of being guided and controlled. And that's what I don't want. We live in a generation now, these young people, man, like, they're annoying as hell, man, but they don't want to be controlled. There's nothing attractive about that to them. They don't see any safety, because all of the systems of safety have been broken down already. Back in the 90s, before a lot of them was even born in America, we had the Enron scandal. And this is basically a scandal that happened where people had invested money into a company that they worked at. It was a huge company in America. And the heads of the company, the boards of directors, lied about the fact that the company was basically going bankrupt. So all these people lost their life savings, and this happened, I don't remember what year, maybe 92, 93, somewhere around there. But that was like the beginning of don't trust these corporations. So now you fast forward to today, those people were in their 30s, who were born around that time. And they've come to like, nah, don't trust them. Whereas the generations before was like, trust the city, get yourself a good job with the state or the city, you're straight. You'll never get fired. You got a bunch of days off. You get a pension, or get a good corporate job and climb the ladder. And those systems have been broken down. They've seen so much political corruption, so much corporate corruption, where it's just like, I don't trust none of y'all. And I love it. It's great. So it's like, I'm not going to let you control me. And whatever is done, there better be a rhyme and reason behind it. That's why they're so suspicious when we talk to them. That's why they're so annoying. you know. But they don't believe nothing we saying, like nah, you know. But now you got this thing with the social media influence. They'll listen to an influencer, and fortunately that whole thing is starting to die down now, which I'm glad about, because it's caused a lot of damage, you know. But your deliberation can be your most powerful thing that you can provide. Just whatever you do, from the littlest thing, man, like the colors you wear. If somebody say, why, people ask me, Chief, why you wear red all the time? You know it's for a reason. I may not tell. I might be like, yo, mind your goddamn business, which is usually what I say. It's usually the answer.
Oh, come on, Chief. You always say that.
Right, yeah, exactly. You always, I need a new answer. Nah, that one's still good. You know, but yeah, there's a reason. There's a reason, you know. But just being deliberate. Matter of fact, I'll even say it. I only wear colors. I only wear the colors of metal. You know, so I wear the colors that metal is at its cool state, and that metal is when it's burning, or has been put into a forge. So you notice I only really wear red, white, black, and gray. You know, so there's a deliberation. I'm deliberate, even in that expression. You know, there's a rhyme and reason for it. Sometimes that's the most powerful thing you can give a person. You know.
Yeah, for sure. Another good thing of a beautiful thing about what Brother Mayuba just shared was it cost him nothing. Like what he just shared, it cost him nothing. It was super valuable, but it didn't take anything away from him.
Right.
You know, to share that. Peace, brother. Nah.
Peace.
Yeah, you came to check your homework, Aki, right here.
Yeah, he did half of it. He did half the homework.
Oh, with the e-commerce terms and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. With the term. He did half. He halfway there, you know. But yeah, he did pretty well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. He got a satisfactory. Do they still get those in school?
Yeah.
They still get them joints? Yeah, satisfactory. Yeah, man. What's going on now?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How are y'all doing?
Maintaining.
Shabbatin.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I did a little research on the pray to your father in secret verse in Matthew.
There we go.
So these are some of the things that I found. So this verse was Yahushua speaking, and at the time, apparently, from what I found, he was in the land of Zebulun and Naphtali, and these are Israelite tribes. But at this time, there were a lot of Gentiles, so other nations that were around them and oppressing them at that time. So it was called like a land of darkness, or a land of, that's what I saw, land of darkness. So when he came, it was like a reference to Isaiah, because Isaiah had prophesied that at some time the land of Naphtali and Zebulun would have like light, and it wouldn't be a land of darkness anymore. So this was like the fulfillment of that prophecy. And he was speaking to them, to those people, about things that they should and shouldn't do. And so that verse about, pray to your father in secret, that was part of his, his sermon to them. And the secret place, I wrote down, right now my computer's like bugging right now. Y'all don't even know, but like it's I wrote down.
Don't believe him. Nah, he makes money off of that laptop. No. See, y'all don't know.
Listen. You know how we be getting VSTs and stuff, right?
No, don't put me in it. I was big in the 90s. That was like 500 years ago. Come on, man. My producing days is over. It's you. And your computer works.
You released like three
we was using CDs.
You release like 3 albums a month. You got it on Spotify, Apple Music. You got it on everything. So you can't do that.
All right, okay, you're right. I know what you mean. Okay, VSTs clogged up your computer because they probably was hacked. I know what you went to one of the crack sites.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So now my computer's frozen. I'm looking at something I can't even see on. So yeah, I was trying to like click around and stuff. It's tripping. But the word was like it was like
that's why I gotta be in you and not on you.
The word was like tam. You probably know it, but it's like tamion or tamion. It was a Greek word for like a secret place, but apparently the reference in Old Testament times, it would be a place where people would keep like treasures or things that they wanted to keep hidden. And in New Testament times, it would be they would call it would be like the place where a husband and wife would go to be intimate. That's what I got. I don't know if I'm right, but that's what I got from the study that I did.
Okay. That's satisfactory. That's yeah. I would say, okay, the other part I would just look at is the concept of secret, which is in the Hebrew it's sedar or seder. And the secret place is a hiding place. But what that means is that there's a time when it talks about the time when the Most High's presence passes over. And in order to experience the Most High's presence, you should be in your secret place or in your closet, as was spoken. But the secret place, it's the place of meditation. That's what it's referring to. So at that time, when he's like, yo, when you go and pray, go in your closet, because people were in the street making a whole bunch of noise. You know, like people, I mean, it's not even just New York. Inside, you got people in the middle of the street like, repent, the day of the Lord is coming. And, you know, there were people at that time who were doing that. And he was like, yo, I don't even talk to people like that. Like, I don't know who they're talking to. They're not talking to me. He's like, if you want to speak to me, you have to speak to me in a secret place of your soul. So you're going into that meditative space, right? Because he talks about it's in Psalms, something 9. Just look around. It's something 9. You'll find it.
Yeah.
No, but he talks about it, and he talks about how when you pass me over, when your spirit passes me over, I will dwell within your secret space. So, which is again a reference to the closet. So it's saying like there's a time when within your soul, it's the going inward, and it's latching on to the voice of the Creator that comes from inward, but not through all that outward display. You know, like sometimes, and it's not just in the church. I mean, I've seen this in the Ifa community. Like people will chant their way into possession. You know, sometimes in churches you'll have them. They do what's called watch night services, where they stay up and pray like through midnight, sometimes to the next day. And when they want to go into the spirit, they'll keep saying, "Thank you, Jesus," over and over again. Like until they start, and they'll just be like, "Thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus, thank you, thank you, thank you," and they'll just keep saying that until they just start speaking in tongues. You know, I know it sounds pretty freaky, but they really do that. You know, so what he was saying, he was like, "Yo, that's not me. Like that's not me. I'm only there when you quiet out the noise and go into the Sadar, or go into that place that is secret, the secret place, the Sadar. And then that's where you will find me, in the quiet place of your soul, not in the loud actions of your public prayers."
And Chief, wouldn't it also? I know you said secret and sacred are synonymous, or sacred and secret work together. So wouldn't that also relate to like your altars? Like if you're, because I see people, I go like to different houses when I'm doing some of these jobs, and they'll actually have their altar in like a physical closet or a physical smaller room, that's like kind of blocked off from everywhere else. And then like to go, that will be right there. So they would actually go in there to close the door or whatever to kind of keep it quiet and whatever for them to do their thing. So that kind of be similar to as well.
It could, but once you know that it's there, to me, it ain't that anymore.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, I've always hid stuff, you know, when people come through. I mean, white material is nothing. It's cheap. You just take a big piece of white material, throw it over your stuff, you know. So yeah, the secret and the sacred, it's not to be revealed to everyone. You know, he's not saying, you know, pray in your mysterious place. That ain't the same thing, you know, because you could be the biggest scumbag and stumble upon a mystery. You can't be a big scumbag and have a secret revealed to you. No one feels safe revealing a secret to a scumbag. And the same instance, no one feels like you're not going to give the secret to a scumbag. So when he's saying come into the secret place, he's like, yo, the part of you that's good. You know, he's talking about you want to connect with me, you got to connect through your ba or through your soul. And that's how we make our connection. No other way. You see. And that reference to passing over, that's a reference to like, which is really deep, to be honest with you, because it's like, I might pass over and folks don't even know I just passed over because they're not dwelling within the intelligence of the soul. They're dwelling within the human personality. You see. So the Most High like may pass over the, and you know what Passover is talking about? It's talking about the ship, the glory, when we hear the glory of the Most High. So that means, I mean, it gets kind of deep, but it means literally like, I'm on a different frequency, you know, and you have to tune into your higher frequency to see me.
I was thinking about this movie, right? It came up last straw. I had to watch it. It was a 90s movie. I found out that they made it in the 70s too. But it's a movie called Escape the Witch Mountain.
Yeah. I know it.
I used to like this movie so much when I was younger, but
freaky.
I did not know why. I just keep
That's
seeing that purple light.
Too.
Yeah, it's a Disney movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched it again last Sabbath after the study. It was a long story because, side note, I know why you say that tropical camping is very difficult now because I did that. You know, I camp in the summer in the Caribbean. Them sandflies had me like, you ever get to a point where you're so distressed that you just come full circle and you're just like,
do I want to live?
I was just getting eaten alive. And it's like, at first I was swatting. I went through the 5 stages of grief and I just accepted it. They really about to kill me.
Yo, remember, I was trying to tell Zach at the retreat, remember me, him, and Tola? And I was like, yo, that tropper. And they were like, what are you talking about? I'm like, yo, that's the only one I've done every survival scenario. I've done snow, I've done the mountains. The tropical is my last like mountain to climb. That is so difficult, and primarily because of the mosquitoes. Yeah. And you want to be near the beach, but that's where you get all the sand flies. And those things feel like they sting on top of bumps. It's like they don't even like, okay, well, we got you good. They'll just, no, we get you again.
and the sandflies, you can see them coming as the evening is coming, you see them like popping up on the sand, and it's like a swarm. Like you better start running.
Right.
But you know the problem with the sandflies is that they're flies. So you think like, oh, they're just annoying, and then until they bite, and you're like, whoa, what?
Right.
The heck was that? And they hurt. It's like, yo,
I'm talking about the tiny ones. So
I know the ones you're talking about.
I got the tent where it has like the mesh mosquito net, But the
Nah,
sandflies are so small, they just keep
they were
crawling
getting right
through. I
through
was
it.
like, how they keep getting in here? Like, I'm sure I killed 1,000 in the past 5 minutes, and they keep showing up.
Yeah,
So that was
there is
exciting.
the only defeat for them, to be honest with you, from all the people that I've ever like done, you know, survival trips with it, they just be like, yo, I've gotten stung so much and bitten so much, I don't feel it anymore.
Yeah.
Right. That's
I'm
what I
like,
did.
I can't do that. Like, nah.
You ain't got no choice. Either that or
Right.
go home.
You have to think of the stings as acupuncture. Okay. If you do
Acupuncture.
that, I feel like you're healing all the time.
You don't move
I
during
wonder if they
acupuncture.
send you. I wonder if they send you into a meditative state because I was like to rationalize.
I am not my body.
Right. Like, this is the manifestation of all my distractions.
Right.
Like, I need to
Yo,
kill
them
all my
insects.
distractions.
Insects are no joke in survival scenarios, man. Like, to me, I've seen people try to do the Everglades, and down in Florida, which is in swamps. And I think you could deal with the snakes and the gators and the spiders, but those mosquitoes will send you running, you know, because you can't focus. They biting you on your eyelids and stuff, and you know, yeah.
There's like 3 mosquitoes in my tent where I did a thing where I distracted the sandflies. I hung like a headlamp, right? I hung that on top of my tent, and they behave somewhat like gnats. So they were just swarming around the light. But it was like 3 mosquitoes where as soon as I doze off, and I don't know if they watch your breathing, as soon as my breathing relaxed and I started falling asleep, one would go straight up my ass. I was like, yo, it got to the point where like I think at 4 a.m., it was a full moon. 4 a.m., I just got up and started walking. I walked until 7 a.m. I was like, the sun is up, maybe they're gone. They were still there.
Like, I'm gonna walk into the ocean.
Right.
Yeah, man. Tropical camping is rugged, brother. Like, it's rough, man. But I want to get into survivalism in a tropical environment, not because I ever feel like I'll need the bug out there, but it's just because I've done so many others, and that's the one I've always been scared of. So it's just like I want to face the fear, and it's only because of the mosquitoes. And there is stuff in the tropics. The tropics are a very hostile environment to survive in. Like, so it's not just mosquitoes, but that's the only thing I'm worried about. You know what I mean? Like, I might survive a black mamba. You know what I mean? Like, I just, you know, I'm kind of hefty. So it's like, you know, that venom would take a minute to get through my nervous system. But them flies get right to you. You know.
You never tried it short term?
No. Nah, man. It's like a fear. It's just like, because I already know what it is. You know what I'm saying? I know it's mosquitoes. Like, I already know. Like, I'm under no delusion. Like, you know, this is a nice spot. The breeze, maybe the breeze keep them off you. No, I know what happens because I've done a lot of. Yeah, you hear them like, oh God. I've done a lot of spiritual work on beaches at night, so I already know. Like, and most of the time you have to work like around dusk, so it's like I already know what's coming. You know what I mean? So just stay out there all night, nah. You know.
Right. That movie, Escape from Witch Mountain. We
Witch
talk about vibrations, and with the vibration piece, I watched it again. I was like, okay, so they could have always gone home, right? But it's a certain. Well, they couldn't have always gone home, but the vibration strengthens up every 7 years, I think, and they go to this mountain and they can leave. But I thought it was interesting that on the Disney story side of the story, I didn't know it was a book. I didn't realize it was a book until after I saw it again. On the Disney side of the story, they willingly came to the planet, and it was like, oh, we like it here, and then they stayed, and then everyone's a twin, so one side fell into humanity, the other side wanted to go home, but they have to be on the same frequency in order for them to leave. And there was this one set of twins where they were both off, but one of them was like living in the mountains, and the other one was like a chauffeur. Like, he always worked as a driver for someone. And they could never leave. They kept missing the ship. Like the ship kept passing them over because they were never on the right frequency whenever the ship came through.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's what, like, you remind me of the movie when you mentioned that.
Being on that frequency. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much everything, because it's just like when we speak about in the Quran and we talk about the world of the jinn and how the jinn live side by side with us, but they just live in a different dimension that's governed by smokeless fire, which is of course plasma. You know, so it's like your ability to perceive, you know, we only perceive 3% of what exists within the universe. So you're widening up the spectrum of your perception is what really gives you access to heaven or to hell. It's like what I was saying earlier about vibrations. You know, like it's either spiritual vibration or world vibration, high school or elementary school. You know, and that's really what you're looking for, is a marriage of the two. That's why the word kawa means, you know, desire. You know, so it's a desire of the body that comes with the atomic principle and consciousness of the atom. Now, when those two come together, you have marriage. So you're still blending a higher frequency with a lower frequency. That's part of the problem. Like a lot of times, it's just like from fake conscious folk, like woke folk. It's like we yeah, well, it's the frequency thing. Like, oh, y'all some low frequency. Like, so is bass. You don't, who don't like bass? You know what I'm saying? Like, turn the song on, turn all the bass off, all the treble up. What you got? Salsa music. You know what I mean? Like, you know, salsa ain't got no bass in it. I be like, well, how y'all listening to this? Ding, 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 ding. Yo, this is a hit this year. This is a hit. Yo, you wow. Wow. Can't hear that. My ear, you figure earbuds be bleeding? With the maracas, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, you need bass. Like, who, like, we want that bass, man. You know what I'm saying? Any good music genre you speak of, there's management of the bass frequency. And even as melanin rich people, we live in the melanin is a low tone or low frequency element. Melanin is not, it's not high frequency, it's low frequency, just like the subconscious. That's why most of the stuff that helps to identify who we are is going to exist within the lower registers. You know, even when we hum a song, we usually hum the bass line. You know, as melanin rich men, we don't care if our woman ain't got no breast at all. We could care less. Let's keep it real. But we like some hips. We like that back. You know, so we like the lower frequencies. The high frequencies, take them or leave them. There ain't that much you could do with them. You know, but the lower, you can do way more stuff with the lower. You know, our instrumentation, the drums and things like that. You know, it's always so. There's a beautiful marriage that I think for me, my first respect for that came through drum. Like really seeing like, oh, that's how they all get together. You know, like you might have a band where like, yeah, there's a bass player, there's a kick drum, there's a hi-hat, which is a high, there's a snare, which is the mid, but it's not the same as like when you're hearing like a drum orchestra and you're hearing someone on the djembe and they got their djembe tuned up and it sounds like gunfire. You know, and it's all high, you're like, damn, you know, but then you're hearing those lower notes, doom, 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 and you're like, oh, that's what it is. You know, because we can get into a space where we only want low. You know, you listen to old dub songs by like Lee Scratch Perry, you know, and it's like, yo, yeah, I didn't have no treble knob back then. Like it was just, you know, straight distorted bass. And it sounds, we like it, but it's like, damn, like, you know, I don't even know what you're saying, but I like it, you know. But then when you hear the marriage of the two together, that high fidelity with the low frequency, you start to realize like, this is what marriage is. This is marriage. Marriage is when you take someone who's functioning through low frequency and you bring them together with high frequency and you hold those two things together through higher understanding. You know, through higher understanding and compassion for each frequency. The low is saying, oh, you don't know what it's like that. The high is, oh, you don't know what it's like up here. And you're compassionately sharing through the nervous system. That's the circuit that we speak about completing through the sacral chakra, through the brow chakra. You know, that song I did, Yab Yum, that's what that's about. When I'm saying, you know, face to face, we're face to face, you know, we're breathing into each other. That's the Yab Yum position, you know, and in that you're completing an energetic circle between your two spines, you know, but that's a marriage of higher frequency to lower frequency, you know. So a lot of times, man, low frequency gets a bad rap, you know, but lower frequency is great. You know, it just has to be balanced with higher frequency. Say, Mrs. We don't want to hear a bunch of scratchy guitars and not hear the kick drum. You know what I'm saying? We need both of them joints.
Yeah. You know, the when talking about bass, it brings me back to languages and indigenous languages, because, for example, I can speak Creole, French, and English, and a bit of Spanish, but I don't enjoy singing in English, and I don't enjoy singing in French. My vocal tones will always be higher pitched. When I speak in Creole, I'm able to, and naturally my voice is lower and the tone is lower of the language. And a lot of like my friends from Nigeria, my friends from Mali, the tonality of the language is lower. Now, you'll hear people say that learning Creole is really easy compared to learning French. And I think it's because, going back to that bass vibration being all the other notes, and French is usually very high tune, high pitched. Your lips are very perked if you want to speak French properly. And I think that also comes back to teaching children. Right, when you're going to teach children languages or words, you're going to start with a, o, u, e, and go in the e's in the high tone words, and it's easier for children to pronounce those words. So like Mayuba, I've had like toddlers almost saying auba or mauba, baba, and it's a more natural way to learn language, I feel. So the word, so Mayuba comes from Mabuya in Haiti. Mabuya is those big gecko lizards. And that's actually an old Taino word for that Mabuya. And in the different islands, they'll still use Mabuya as the word for that. And it makes sense, because if you're trying to teach children of dangerous things or animals or simple things, you want to use a vocabulary, a tonality that children can understand and that they can actually say back to you, right? Even for dangerous situations, right? So I think that's why bass naturally, and for the melanin-rich community, that's at the base of our languages being solid like that and easily teachable.
Right. So let me ask you this then, like, and thank you for that, man. That's a beautiful share. If you were to say petit garçon, right? If you were to say that in French versus Creole, how would it sound differently?
So in French, you'd say petit garçon. And then in Creole, you say petit garçon.
Okay. So what if it's like, well, even if let's say it's for a woman, like petite fille, how would it sound different?
So in French, you say une petite fille, ou bien you would say petit fissa.
Well, I'm trying to hear the fluctuation to see the tone.
So it would be more if I speak to you in a sentence, right?
Okay.
So, if I were to say like, hello, today I'm going to walk to the park and sit on the bench and eat an apple, right?
Okay.
So I would say, aujourd'hui, je vais marcher pour aller au parc et je vais m'asseoir sur un banc pour manger une petite pomme. So in Creole, you would say, jodi je vais marcher l'autre bois dans le parc là pour que me chita sur un banc pour me manger une petite pomme là.
I hear the
Yeah,
difference.
that was deeper. Yeah,
That
that's
was
cool.
like we all heard that, right? It's like an obvious difference. Like one, you could hear that. You could hear that the Afro Shemitic swag and vibration in the second. Very interesting. And you heard the boom, the hard sounds in there.
I even what's it called? My girl's mom is like speaks Creole a lot. So like when I'm at her house, like you'll hear her speaking Creole, and you hear it like when he was speaking. I never knew he spoke Creole, but like you hear that always, no matter who's speaking. It could be a woman, a guy, or whatever. The voice is always like the tone is a lot more different. Like I remember when you're hearing French in like school and stuff like that, they always try to use a higher pitched voice teaching it to you. Like I've never heard someone like with Mayuba's kind of deepness in his voice speak French like that. Even if they do have a deep voice in English, they'll usually try to pitch it up a little bit when they're teaching it to you in school. But like when you hear them teach, like she's trying to teach me Creole, say a couple words. You would think so some people would be like, oh, why is her voice so deep? But her voice isn't naturally like when she speaks English is not that deep.
Yeah.
It's just when she speaks Creole, like it sounds a little deeper, and you would like over here you'd be confused a little bit. So it's actually a little interesting. I never realized that until
and you'd be surprised. The majority of Haitians that speak French, they'll speak French in a very low tone voice. So I spoke French in a French way, purposely. Right? That's not how I would speak French to like my brothers or to my family, right? And like you'll have Haitians that you learn French in school and you can speak. You're not speaking Québécois French from Canada, but you're speaking proper French.
Right.
But majority of Haitians, when they're speaking French in between each other, there's like a slang to it, and the tonality goes up and down as if they're speaking Creole.
If someone from Quebec was here, they would fight you over that. I said, no, we are French. We are French.
Yeah, I always hear that, but I don't know. I don't speak French like that, so I don't really care that much about it. But like, is the like I don't know, French or whatever you want to call it, a lot different from Canadian Quebec French or whatever?
Saying someone like someone speaking English like a redneck, or speaking English like a regular like English.
Oh, okay.
Right? So
wow.
So how do you know that?
Right, too.
This is what it is.
Wow. So your girl's mom be over there cursing you out basically in Creole. That's what I'm picking up on. Yes, you know she talk about you all the time, right?
No, that's not. She'll be cussing out. She'll be cussing out her younger brother.
You don't know because you don't speak Creole.
But I'll be nah. I get told.
Why can't she just speak English in front of you?
Because she's
talking about you.
if she usually she'll say a specific word to me. I always forget I forget the word, but she always say a specific word.
Get out. You be like, oh, that's some kind of Creole that I don't understand. You understand it. You trying to play dumb. Oh, that's Creole.
Nah.
Go. Yeah, they tired of you coming over eating up all the food, all the crepes. But yeah, man, that's it's just interesting, how our expression again comes out through different spaces like that, and even like and like it was funny when you said the Creole version. I'm looking at everyone. It's almost like y'all look like y'all understood what he said. It was kind of like, yeah, the apple.
I know home is apple.
You might connect to certain things a little quicker. It's so interesting when it comes to language in that sense, like how we exclude ourselves from our tones. Unfortunately, sometimes we're shamed, out of our tones.
I was just going to ask about that. In terms of with both you, Chief, and Mayuba, since you've been exposed to different, like people from different segments of the diaspora in different areas, like does the tonality ever not show up, like every melanin dominant person I know, they sing everything, like especially when they're irritated.
I was gonna say that. No, it's always a song. And in particular, I don't even think you have to go that far. If you just go to the Caribbean. I mean,
That's what I
hell,
remember.
we don't even have to do that. We ain't even gotta do that.
Aware of it.
Just listen to Maria. Like, we don't even have to go even that far.
Yeah.
It sounds like she sings when and I don't even say sounds like, she does sing when she speaks. You know, so I think I think in America things are much better in that sense because of what we're striving for, you know, especially in the North. You know, what we're striving for is that ambiguity in our tone, because that's the thing that will shut things down so much. You know, I was speaking to someone the other day, Trinidad. She's from Trinidad, and she was trying to figure out where I was from. And she was like, I'm trying to place your accent. She was like, because it's like you have no accent, you know, and I know it changes a lot, and I can't place it, you know, and that comes from a lot of the travel that I realize that myself. I don't really, it's all over the place, my tones, but nonetheless, you can still tell that I'm not from wherever I'm standing, you know. So I think that's a commonality, is that even when we can't place the language or whatever, there's a different vibration that comes, and it is usually harmonic. You know, like I think we all noticed when he spoke Creole, we could hear the harmonic. We heard that bo, like it was hitting like a. I think somebody even said in the chat, sound like a drum when he was speaking Creole, sound like a drum playing. You know, so I think that's a commonality. Things begin to harmonize in a certain way. But yes, I'm trying to, man, I don't know, Mayuba maybe, but I can't think of any place that I've ever encountered melanin rich people and it wasn't a sing-songy, because I speak a lot of languages, but I speak most of them wrong. And yeah, I do. You know, there's one thing that's wrong. Like, I know a lot of words and a lot of languages. I know a lot of sentences, a lot of phrases, but my accents and my tones are always off every time. And I know it. Like, I don't even try to fix it anymore. Like, I just, like, it's like you understood what I just said. You know what I mean? You know, and that comes from, I spent so much time in Yoruba land where everything is tonal. And then when you're in other places, then I'm in Tanzania, it's different tones. It's the same word, different tone. Now it's a different word. And I went through that so much. It was like, I'm tired of learning these tones, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, anywhere you go, it's going to be kuko, koko, akuko, akuka. Those 4 things mean chicken. Okay. Now that's from the Akan to the Yoruba to the Swahili, and then in Rwanda, it's the same term. So you all know I said chicken. You know, yes, did I say it wrong? Yeah, I said it wrong. I know I did. I don't have time. But I think part of that is like, that's the Western mind in me too. Like, you know the word.
Right. You know. It's more Pacific than that. It's more Pacific. You know,
right, it's more Pacific. You know, but that's the arrogance of the Western mind, because I'm telling you, I have been chastised so many times about that. So, like, I just wait for it to come. Like, I know I said it wrong. I know you're going to tell me, no, it's not, and you're going to make me say it again. You know, but that's the Western mind. Like, that's part of the broken thing in me, not respecting the tones.
Right. That's why Native Americans are all Indians. You're Indians. I don't care where we are. You're Indians.
Right. Exactly. This is who you are now, you know, but I think that's part of the sickness that I come into a space with, because it's like, because there's words that I can say that I can spell, and I'll say them to native speakers. This has happened to me many times in Igbo land, and they can't write their language. Like I know definitely in Ghana, I know a lot of people can't write in Tree or write in Fonte because that's not what they write at in school. They can speak it, but they can't write it in school. So they don't even know the alphabet like that. But I can show you the lettering and I can write it, but I don't say it right.
Wow.
So I'll put more value on the fact that I can write it. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Well, can you read music? It goes back to that. So I can write your language, but I'm not even saying it right. And I'm like, well, I can write it, so I'm good. But it's like, you're not even, nowhere near good. You better off not even knowing how to write it and pronouncing the words properly. You know?
That reminds me of
Like I know what I just said to Mayuba in Creole. I'm sure I pronounced it wrong. I'm sure I did. I ain't even try. I said petit garçon. And he was like, I saw his face, like he did that, but he was like, what did he? He's like, I know. Yeah, I already know. Yeah, man.
Yeah, that reminds me of like when we were talking about people trying to like write djembe music on a on like a time signature and stuff like that. It's like
it won't work.
It won't work.
Nah, like that don't work. That all those ghost notes.
Yeah.
Like, and what do you even write for the hand slides? There's no. You might be able to write a ghost note, but there's also a slide sometimes when you pulling up from the note, a little
right, like
that gives that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I got my drum here, but yeah, it gives it like this. There's no
character
because I can read drum music as well.
Yeah.
We have rolls, but I don't think there's any notation for that. And then even when you do that, it's like your timing. I don't like. Yeah, what would you even write that? That's crazy. See, you know what that is though. Now that's like. See, I remember in the 80s, right? When synthesizer music started to become a thing, like sequence music, we didn't have sequencers. Like the MPC 60 came out in like 87, right? And before that, there was a couple of there was a joint called the Fairlight. I think it was the Fairlight. Stevie Wonder used to use it, and he used it on that song. So make me feel like paradise. Show me what I'm missing. I don't remember. Take me up and away. I don't remember the name of the song. Love something in flight. Love light in flight, something like that. But he used that synthesizer, and it was like, oh my god. And then Herbie Hancock used it on a song called Rock Box. Right. So now we used to break dance to rock. It was a hip hop song. And now we got sequencing, and I remember like my pops and other musicians was like heated. And I didn't really totally understand, but I remember the conversations and them, like, I remember when my pops and them would come home complaining about jukeboxes. Some of y'all probably don't even know what the heck a jukebox is. But
I know.
I know. Okay, yeah, of course you know. But I remember these nights, as a child, and they be coming home from a gig and he'd be like, that goddamn jukebox, because the jukebox was putting bands out of business, and I remember that distinctly. And then when they started to use sequence, like a lot of cats who were session musicians was like, yo, they don't even need keyboard players and bass players. It's all in the machine now, And the sounds was mad cheesy back then, but they was still making Planet Rock, don't stop. They was still making it, it was making it work. I mean, even Mtume, Juicy Fruit, Roger and Zap, More Ounce to the Bounce, all of that. That was like when cats started sequencing. And but what happened was it created this bastardization of music. And now what began to happen is that people who were not able to get in the game before now had the potential to get in the game because everything was now on a grid. Once you put everything on a grid, anybody can rock out. Just put it on the grid and you good.
Right.
And I think that went like hyper around the early 2000s. There was a a changing of like there's certain terms you don't say in music anymore. Like if you say the word funk, like unless you're talking about fighting somebody, you know, like it's like you date yourself. But there was a time when you said, yo, I'm funky. That was a good thing because funky meant that I live off the grid. That's essentially what it means. It means I have a rhythm and I have a step to me that you can't copy, and it comes from the ethers. So everybody can't have this. It's called funk and soul. So that had to be wiped off the music palette in order for there to now be this grid, this 16th note or 32 note grid that anybody can get down with. You know, and and I remember distinctly, it was around the time when there was a song. This was after Pac and Biggie were assassinated. They came out with a song where they put them together called Running. And it was produced by Eminem. And the beat is just boom, 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 boom. And around that time, a lot of songs had that same exact drum pattern. It was like this dead drum pattern. Before that, it would be like, like you
Wasn't
can't.
that drum pattern on Manny Fresh song too?
That was a bunch of songs. Because everybody used that same. We all pretty much we just sped it up and slowed it down.
I can only hear his voice.
It was all impeach the president. There's an old song called Impeach the President, and we all pretty much we either sampled Impeach the President or Freedom Get Up and Dance. And then you had the James Browns, which was, you know, all of that, the ghost noting Bernard not Bernard Clive, doing all those ghost notes, right? So they wiped that out. No more funk, no more ghost notes, no more complicated beats. Even the New Jack Swing era R&B was goom, that's the beats were like real happy and excited and up. And they got rid of New Jack Swing and just did boom, boom, bap, boom, boom, bap. Now, this brought in Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, the other stiff dude, Justin Timberlake. Rheumatism. Justin Rheumatism Timberlake. At your service, sir. that brought him, but it was a whole series, you know, in sync. You know what I'm saying? I could just go on and on and on, but it was all this very stiff music. But now anybody could produce and get into the game because you just had to now line with the grid. You see? So it's all very intentional because around the same time, like a few years prior, they took all of the music programs out of the urban schools. So you're not touching no instrument. Like, you know, at least it was a trumpet or something. You ain't touching nothing.
You can't help you on making nothing new. It'll mess up the money machine.
You can't touch nothing organic. Like, yeah, sure, if you one of them down south schools and they got the marching bands, like, yeah, you know, they still get busy. They holding it down. But when's the last time you seen a school band up north? They don't exist. We don't have any music programs. You know,
I don't know. Our inner city school, high school bands, man. That's what we live for. And not only that, especially when
down
the
there
schools come up here, man, we show out for them, man. You know,
you talking about Chicago North? I don't know about that, man, because them country boys got everybody licked, man. I don't know. They be they be dancing and flipping and but the only thing they cheerleaders be dudes. That's the only thing. Them cheerleaders, them it's in Atlanta. Them Georgia cheerleaders be strong, boy. They be throwing each other up. Saying, I may look like a girl, but I'm strong like a boy. You know what I'm saying? They be strong. I seen a couple. I looked at YouTube. I'm like, girls ain't got no butt. Oh,
You see the Adams house, they turn to the side.
Tall behind girls ain't got no booty. But yeah, man. So all of that was very intentional, so certain people could get into the game. You know, now my children can get down and get some money. You know, even the removal of multiple syllabic rhyming. I mean, we still have cats who rhyme like that, but nobody makes it big rhyming like that. Like we have certain dudes like your Lupe Fiascos, your King Los, even Papoose at one point, you know, where there's a lot of, and that really came from Rakim, that multiple syllabic rhyming. They took that out. They was like, nah, get rid of that. Because
so quick question. The year that was starting to happen, when basically they removed the funk and they started introducing the boom boom bap, was that around the year Fela Kuti was doing his stuff in Nigeria? And
no, Fela had already transitioned at that point. Fela transitioned in the 80s. No, when did he transition? He wasn't making music by then. Was it the 90s? Early 90s. Okay, I felt like that.
Maybe.
But remember, he was sick for a minute, so he wasn't actually making any music, any new music like that because of his sickness. But that's a good kind of point you bring up though, because remember, Fela got his whole style from James Brown. Like he never really tried to hide that. Like that he was the Nigerian James Brown. You know, so it was like that whole era. And what was so messed up around that time is when people started figuring out how to make money off of sampling. So it was like you had a lot of these older artists coming forward like, oh, you know what, boy, you gonna pay me for that sample you use. You know, whereas before because back then lawyers didn't know, they didn't understand this new art form, so they didn't even know how to go after sample money. You know, and so a lot of the sampling died down, and that's when you had the rise of West Coast rap, which had less samples and more instrumentation, which I love. They play their music. Well, I love that, but it didn't give homage to the Ohio players and Funkadelic and James Brown and Isley Brothers, like what was happening through all of the sampling, because I'm not of the era of James Brown, but I am thoroughly tuned into James Brown because of sampling that occurred in the 80s. And so we would go back and listen to those songs that were sampled, you know? So yeah, but it was a very purposeful and deliberate deconstruction of a soulful and spiritual experience that was happening through the music at that time. This was also the reason why breakdancing was also dismantled, you know, because breakdancing was also a very key spiritual component of the rise that was happening at that time. So that was taken away. That was sent over to Japan. They was like, y'all do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'll do it. We ain't doing that no more. Now we just two-step.
You know, there's memes about like, it'll be like a Caucasian white 13-year-olds in the room, like making crazy like trap beats and stuff like that. And it's because it's like you got the grid. So it's like, as long as you know where to put what, you can make what we hear.
Yep. You got the grid. Yo, there's so much to this. I don't want to be like a grumpy old producer, but because I remember one time I was watching an interview with like Run DMC, and like they was talking about like, you know, back in the days, it would take us like a month to make one record because we had to go to this studio to get that one studio. I'm like, I wasn't really, that wasn't my era. Like it wasn't that bad when I came, you know what I'm saying? Like I sympathize with you, OG, but at the same time, Sucker MCs was just a drum beat. Like how long that took to really make? Cat. Like, come on, man, it's just one beat. Like, and then like I had like violins and trumpets coming in. You know what I'm saying? Like, how long did that take? You know what I'm saying? But no disrespect. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's the putting it on the grid, but it's also the access to things that you shouldn't have access to. Like when I came up in music, I mean, even now I still do it. The stuff y'all hear me do is me playing, you know, like, and partly is because I suck at sampling. So that's also what kind of fueled me playing more, because I just wasn't good at sampling. I don't get it.
You're good at sampling movies and stuff. You know, you got roots and everything.
Yeah, ain't no beat on the movie. That's easy.
But you put it at the right time, though.
I just hit play on the VCR. That's easy. You know, but yeah, I was never like, some cats could listen to like, oh, I want that little piece and I'm gonna flip it, then I'm gonna stretch it out some more, then I'm gonna detune it. Like, man, I ain't got time for all that, man. I'd rather just play it over. You know, like by the time you did all of that, I could have had my guitars, my bass, I had the whole thing done. So that was my thing. I didn't have the patience for sampling, but I like there's some beautiful music made with samples. But the thing about it is that me coming up, like if I want to record my bass, even now, if I want to go record my bass, I have to know how I want my bass to hit your ears when you hear it, and how I want it to translate. And it's not going to sound perfect. There's going to be certain notes that I'm going to hit, like, damn, I was a little before the note or a little after the note. But I'm going to leave it. The feeling is there. I'm going to leave it. You know what I mean? Or maybe my finger slipped a little bit and you hear a little buzz, you know, or if I'm playing the keys, like, you know, most time just freestyling. So I might hit a little funny note here and there, stuff like that, right? So, but nonetheless, I don't have access to, well, I do have access to perfection, but I don't use it. Like I could just sample some perfect piano. I could sample a perfect bass, you know, and then just jam it all together on the grid. But now I don't engage in that relationship. No shade now, because I know that's what you do. But it's like, yeah. But now actually he's a musician. And I was telling him, like, he's a drummer. And I've been saying for put your drums on your joints. But, you know, he'll get around to it, I guess. But so I can have a musician talk, at least in front of now. But so that lack of process of getting to learn an intimate relationship with an organic instrument also changes something in the psyche as well. Because now putting together a song is like just putting together a Word document. And now putting together a song is like putting together a Word document with Chat GPT.
Yeah.
You know, so you don't have to do nothing.
Yeah.
Whereas before, where it's like I got three guitars in my other room right now that need to be they need maintenance on them, right? So I can't record with them. But one of them, the neck is so bad that I can only put one string on it. It's crazy, one string. The song I did, Babylon Is Falling, I did with one string, just like this, just acting stupid, right? I'm like, screw it. What's the worst that like? I ain't trying to be no teen heartthrob at this point. I could put out a wrong song, right? But you know, so it's that process that you go through of touching organic and primal things that activates something primal. And remember, I talked about primal wisdom. It activates your primal wisdom in the brain. So when you remove that from your creative processes and you put something in between, you now are not invoking that spirit and those neurons inside of you anymore. It's like if you type all the time and you never write anything. Yeah. Writing actually affects certain parts of the brain. When's the last time you sat down and wrote something? So now what happens to that part of the brain? It atrophies. You see? You have to have the ear to be able to hear when something is wrong and to make it right. We don't have that anymore because everything that's given to us now is perfect out the box.
I remember like the Herbie Hancock situation where he and Miles Davis was playing. He tells the story like he played the wrong note because he was always about being a perfectionist. And when he played it, like he almost like put his head in his hands and stopped playing. Mm-hmm. And Miles, he was like, he stood there for a minute and it was almost like he tapped into the matrix. Like he was in the cloud. And he was like, "Oh, I know what I could do with that." And he just put his trumpet to his mouth. Herbie was like, "He made my wrong note right." Like he was listening to it. He just corrected it and he just flowed with it. You know, as opposed to like shutting down because I did something wrong.
It's organized chaos. Why is it that we could all tune into YouTube and watch you paint a picture and not even know what the heck the picture's gonna be? And once you finish painting, we all leave. All right, that was cool, brother. Thanks, brother. Peace.
Right.
Because we didn't really care about you finishing. We were enjoying the process. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why one of the reasons I like charcoal painting, because y'all be smut. When y'all mess up, you get to erase it and you smut. I'm like, yeah, I like the mistakes. Make some more mistakes.
Yeah.
Because that's the humanistic aspect of it. So just like, I know the story you're talking about, you know, where it's like, okay, that was off, but let's go off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, who's
Like,
to tell you that a note?
tapes.
Yeah, demo tapes. I have a lot of those for a reason. But, you know, demos where you're hearing something come together. You're hearing something in its purest form. But we're even the way we listen to things. Like, when's the last time, you know, you really went out to go hear a group live? You know, we listen to things through like, even in the studio. I'll give you an example. This was something that always bothered me for years when I was in the music industry. We sitting here listening we working on this song. We come out of the sound room. We listen in the control room. That's where the mixing board is and stuff. That we called the control room. And we're listening through these 8-inch speakers or 12-inch speakers, but our ears don't hear like that. First of all, our ears are on the side of our heads like this. And you got me listening to something like this that is supposed to the sweet spot is when it angles in a triangle to me like this. But my ears are over here like this, you know, and I'm supposed to experience all this beauty of this song through these little 12-inch or 8-inch speakers that are made out of paper or made out of neoprene. That's not how sound works in the world. You know, like, if somebody drops something, and, you know, you feel the vibration sometimes through your whole body. You can't get that through a little speaker in the studio. You know, so what exactly is the experience that we're not giving people music? It's not music. So what are we actually programming them to accept as good sound when we know that sound don't sound like that? You see what I'm saying? It's just like if you go to a concert, right? If you sit in the middle of the floor, let's say the drummer is in the middle of the stage and your seat, where your seat is in the middle facing the drummer, right? Now, when we mix music, I'm gonna give you something real simple. I ain't gonna go up, but you know I can talk about music all night, so I'm gonna chill out. When we, this doesn't get ridiculous, and y'all are polite. But when we mix music, we tend to take, and now I'll tell you, we make all of our low frequencies mono. Mono means that the same sound is coming out both speakers, like your left and right speakers, let's say. It's in the center. That's mono. So usually your kick drum, your bass drum, anything that's low is going to be in the center. Then we might start spreading stuff out to the left or the right ear as we get to higher frequencies, right? Now, typically when you mix music, and this goes all the way back to Motown. This was the Motown style that they created, and we pretty much have never changed it since then. Your kick and your snare go straight down the middle. Because back in the days for Motown, their whole formula of what made a hit was the kick drum and the bass guitar. You could strip everything out. And as long as that kick, and they were the first R&B or soul label to actually put heavy bass into their kick drums. Nobody was mixing records like that. So like how we used to records having like a knock, like we listen to Dr. Dre, like, yo, I got a knock, that came from Motown. So they would put the kick and that bass. That's why when you think of Motown songs, you think of doom, 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 doom. You always think of the bass line first. You know, do, 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 same old song, right? Because they made that bass so prominent. Now, you got that. All that's in the center. That's how you grew up listening to music. The kick and the snare is right there, boom, hitting you, boom, boom, and you got little sounds twinkling on the outside. We don't care nothing about that because we got what's in the middle, right? But if you go to a concert, the way a drum set is set up, if I'm setting up, I can take you to my drum set right now. My kick is coming off of my right foot, so it's slightly angled to the right, slightly. My hi-hat is all the way to the left over here. And my snare is slightly to the left, but not in the middle. So when I'm playing like this, the hi-hat is, let's say if you're facing me, the hi-hat is in your right ear the snare is slightly in your right ear and the kick drum is slightly in your left ear. That's how real music sounds if you're listening to real musicians. That's just the drum set. We ain't get to nothing else. But when you listen to it in your earbuds or whatever, we're taught to mix those elements right in the middle of the track. That's not natural. That's not how a drum kit comes at the audience when you're standing in front of it. It's spread out to different ears. So that's an example of like, why the heck we doing that? What? That's not right.
I actually found a different type of appreciation for people who can make music. Cause I had went to the like the sound, I don't know what to call them, music shop or whatever, where all the different like drums and stuff. I don't know what they're called. I've never been in my life.
Yeah, this is blasphemous.
So I was there.
Did you go to the music store? Hold on.
Music store.
You ain't gonna do that in front of me. Okay.
The music store. The music store.
Okay, right. Where they had instruments and guitars hanging on the wall and stuff.
That's what I was.
Okay.
I was one of those, and I was playing this like keyboard. Like this one of these like it wasn't a normal keyboard. Like it made like weird like new and kind of
synthesizer.
Like, yeah, I played one of those, and I realized I have zero rhythm. Like no rhythm. Playing on the drums, no rhythm. Tried to play on the guitar,
impossible.
No rhythm.
Nope, impossible. Nope. You used to play basketball, right?
But that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna just say that basketball is like when it comes to a rhythm with drawing and a rhythm with basketball, it was so easy to like find that rhythm. Like even like we're talking about the art just now. Like I find people nowadays are like, oh, I just splashed a couple colors together and made a picture. But I like how like me and Menelik will have an idea. Cause I worked with him before. You have an idea and just put it on the paper. Me, I'll just give me a piece of paper. I'll just give you some type of random thing, and it's just a type of rhythm you just get into. The more you get into it, is the easier the drawing comes to you as you can keep going. Where now you're just drawing mindlessly, but in the beginning you had to kind of get that rhythm together. But with music now, that's what I was saying. Like I couldn't find that. And that's why I said I had kind of more respect for you, like different artists, because you see like people who draw, people who do music, even dance too. Like Zach. I don't know how Zach began like that sometimes, because this guy be coming out sweating like he just ran a marathon.
Zach just does anything. Zach is not. Don't have Zach. Don't be telling him no dancer, because we could barely get him to stop now. Zach, he just do anything. And Zach's a giant. So it's like, yo, you gotta be careful, bro. Like he be tearing down gazebos and stuff. Like, yeah, Zach just does anything.
But yeah, just different types of art. Like just you could just see the rhythm in the art. But yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want to say. I seen that when I went to the music store.
It's all in the story that you tell yourself, Raheem. Art isn't it. Yo, there's nothing that Nala, or because Mayuba's also an artist. There's nothing that we can do that you can't do. It's just the way we think. Like I've seen, 3D art that Mayuba has done. Mayuba ain't got nothing different than me. He got the same 10 fingers. He's got the same eyes. Whatever. So the same arms, right? So it's not that there's something like a special gene that's inside of him that's not inside of someone else. Same for Nile, same for Menelik. It's the way that they approach the world. Your approach to the world will always determine what your expression is going to be, because we're all working with the same exact elements. You see, I don't do and currently cannot do what Mayuba does, but it's mainly because I just said I can't do it. So my approach to the world doesn't encompass that type of thinking. Just like Now produces music, I produce music, but I would hate to produce music the way Now produces music. I come from an era of when I had my studio, my original studio, I had a big gigantic mixing board, a 2-inch tape machine, blinking lights all over the wall, instruments, drum sets, this, that, piano. Like now we ready to make some music. Now it's got a laptop, right? So because of the way I think. But he's making the same money I was making. Like, he making money, you know. Matter of fact, probably making more because I spent all that money on all that equipment. He just got a laptop. He probably got that joint from Walmart or something. You know what I'm saying? He got a regular old laptop. Oh, he got some keyboards now. Okay, but those ain't expensive. I know what you got there. You didn't go crazy. You know. So, but it's the thinking, right? So I would sit down at his setup and be like, I can't do anything with this. But I can, it's the mindset I approach it with. He might sit down in my setup and be like, yo, it's too much going on. This is too busy. Like, no, we just is like, you see, it's all white. His is nice and simple. He can think. You know, I got old broken instruments in the corner. Don't sit on that chair. You know, I got those kind of stuff, you know. So it's the mindset that you approach the world with that will determine what your expression will be. Because we can all do the same exact things. I told you guys that before with singing. Everybody can sing. If you can yell, you can sing. But do you feel confident? You know, it's your approach to the thing that makes it a real thing. You know, you take somebody like a Keith Sweat, or hell, even a Mary J. Blige. She got worse with every record. Every record, it's like you didn't get no singing lessons. You just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. But confident like a mug. So you are making platinum hits. Like, you are some of the biggest R&B stars because of the way you approach the art. You see, so it's all in the mind that you have. The art comes from here. It doesn't come from anything else. If you want to play a keyboard or whatever, it comes in what you think about that keyboard before you put your hands on it. You know.
I also wanted to add, like, it's similar to what Chief was speaking about earlier. Like, there's nothing worse than trying to imitate someone else's vibration. You know, so sometimes you might sit in front of an instrument and be like, well, I can't make this instrument make the same sounds that another person would make it make, so I can't play it. You know, that happens a lot too, where I'm sitting there, instead of having fun, you know, like, you ever see a child sit in front of a piano, they just hit everything. You know, and they might hit some notes that sound good. It's like, hold on, play it again, baby. Yeah, play it again. You know, and they start playing it harder because it's like, I did something right. I don't know what I did, but I'm keep doing it.
It was broke. Now it's broke. But you know, that goes back to the bastardization of our art. So now, like, Raheem could go into the sound shop and freaking caveman sound shop. Like, but he can hit a key on a keyboard and it will make the exact same sound as if I hit that key. And I can play, but it will make the same sound because it's all just digital. We're just hitting a button, like if you're hitting a doorbell.
Yeah. As
opposed to, like you said, if you put both of us on the piano, it's not going to make the same sound. Or on a guitar, or on a drum set, or on, like, I got a conga in front of me, or on my conga. It's not going to make the same sound, right? Because I'm my father's son. I came out of my father's testicles. My drum tone was never like my father's, ever. And whenever I used to try to get my tone like my father's, I had blisters all over my head. I just couldn't do it because my father had a very, very sharp drum. He was a crisp conga sound. He was what we call a strong player. A strong player is if you're doing a gig, and let's say that gig, you playing for an hour, hour and a half, he's strong from the first cut to the last cut. You know, he's a strong, big, strong diesel arms. He's just sharp tone, right? I used to try to copy him. I couldn't keep up. I never caught up. I'm like, when I get older, never caught up, right? But I would do little flashy stuff, and he'd look over, he'd be like, oh, okay, I hear you. I like that. But yeah, now I got to rest. My hands hurt now. I got to rest. I'll come back and do something flashy on the next song. Okay, I'm back now. You know, so, but that's a sound unto itself. See, that's the beauty because you're developing this intimate relationship with each instrument. Just like my father, I bought him a guitar one year. Well, no, he asked me to pick one. He wanted a guitar. He always wanted to play guitar. He's like, man, I always had this vision of me just sitting out in the park playing guitar and singing. I'm like, yeah, you just doing that for chicks. You know, I'm not stupid. You know, so, but even when I got the guitar, let me tell you what, I picked the guitar I wanted. Because when I was like, he's not going to play this guitar. He doesn't have the hands for, my father's hands like cinder blocks. You are built for one thing, beating children and beating drums. You ain't built for nothing else. He didn't have, look at my hands. You see what I'm saying? Look how beautiful them hands are. You know what I'm saying? My man hands never came in. You know what I'm saying? I never got man hands. My father had some thick hands, look like fudge bars. You know what I'm saying? And this part looked like, he always looked like he had a boxing glove on. Those boxing gloves on your hands. So I'm like, you can't play no guitar, you wildin'. And sure enough, he played it for about a day, if that, a day. And then it just sat in the corner. I just timed it. I'm like, I'm gonna let it sit for like another month. Then I'm taking it to
the park.
Huh? Yeah, he never made it to the park. Never made it to the park. He only knew how to play one song. It was the first song he taught me, and it only requires like one finger. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah, because your big, thick, gigantic hands, you're gonna break it. You know what I'm saying? So we all have our expression, not only through our medium, but when you're playing something that's organic, it's going to sound different for you because your expression and your approach is different. And what you want to do is different. You see, what you want to say is different. You know, I would never want to play a high-pitched instrument because I don't want everybody looking at me. You know, but if you're a person who likes to be out front or whatever, you might love the trumpet. You know, I play tenor sax. I don't even play alto sax. I play tenor. It's a lower, more mellow tone. I'm in the shadows, chilling with sunglasses on. I'm that cat. I'm not, I'm not Gideon Bleak, out front, with the horn where everybody can hear. I don't want you looking at me. So your approach to everything you do is going to be transcribed through your spirit or your personality. And that's going to determine the tone that you have when you speak, your tone on your instrument, the way you paint, the colors you choose, the way you dress. You see, Raheem over there looking like a cat burglar. And that's because a lot of times the way he walks, he's very graceful because he played basketball. So he still think like he's graceful like a cat. He's a cat burglar. You see, so that's why he's dressed the way he's dressed. You see, but everybody has their own approach.
I wanted to bring back to when you were talking about the kora, about instruments. When the Moors brought instruments to Spain, and you were talking about bringing in the music, the classical music to heal and to.
They brought the lyre.
Yeah.
That was the instrument they brought, the lyre, Lyre. Anybody wants to look at
the lyre, yeah. Mm-hmm. It looks like a oud, right?
Yes.
But
yes.
Yeah.
The shape of it. Yeah.
Yeah. My brother was talking about this a few days ago with some friends, and about how, the piano, of course, comes from harp, that comes from kora and string instruments. And they created the piano so that Europeans times. He was explaining that they created the piano so that at the time Europeans could actually play single notes because the harps were too delicate, the strings were too delicate at the time to learn right away, and it was easier to have people start learning music by playing notes like that.
Maybe because the verdict piano is a very tricky one because the classification of piano is very tricky because it's a string instrument, but it's also a percussive instrument. So it's also was said that the piano came from the balafon.
Yeah, the balafon.
Yeah. So it's like, we're not sure yet. The verdict is kind of still out because inside of the piano it has hammers, it has mallets, like a balafon, but they're vibrating a string.
Yeah.
So some people will say, "Oh, it's a string instrument," but it actually has percussive hammers. So like a percussionist instrument. But the balafon, you know, or which became the xylophone, you know, like, would be closely related to like the piano.
Yeah, and what I was getting to is to say how, for me, the kora is like I feel like it's a very honest instrument, compared to for me the piano or violin. I put the violin, but violin where you have to string a bow and other instruments that are more manufactured. I felt like the kora was, when I played it just for a few times with my friend, it was natural. And my father told me, "Oh, that must be such a complicated instrument to play." And I told him, actually, no, the kora is really simple. And it has 23 or 27 strings.
No, there's different ones. Yeah, they don't all have that many. Those are harmonic strings when he double, but you can get it. You can use a chord without the harmonic doubling on the string where it's single string. Some choras, you know, have 6 string. Yeah, it's different stringing on them. Yeah,
and I just felt that the way the chord was set up in the string pattern, it felt like a very like instrument wanted to help you play it. Right? Like there's some instruments I play and I'm like, oh, it's not trying to help me play it.
Right.
And I felt like the chord was like you're playing with it and you're playing around, and it's like you could see like any kid or anybody just grabbing it, stringing it, and then eventually this and that makes sense, and then you can just do, you know, you can just do a mantra really easily. You can't just grab a violin and do a mantra really easily. You're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
No, like
maybe without the bow. You know?
Yeah, maybe without the bow, but then you're just, you know,
it's a guitar, right? There's it's a tiny guitar. Yeah. Yeah, chora, certain instruments, it's like drum. Who don't want to hit the drum? You know, like what little child when they walking by doesn't you know, it's just certain instruments are like that where they're just made for certain expressions automatically. Tambourine, you know, tambourine is just it's made. Kora is an instrument where even the way you hold it, you're hugging it pretty much when you know. So it immediately creates this sort of, you know, intimate sort of expression for you, you know. But there are so many instruments that came out of Kora. You know, the banjo. We don't give the banjo nearly as much credit as it should. You know, I've messed around with banjos before, man. The tuning is weird. I'm like, man, I need more time with this. But I like the fact that there's a drum on it. I think that's the coolest thing. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like a kora. You know, so but the violin also comes out of that kora family as well. You know, that was the reason. I think I shared this once, but I like sharing the story of the time because I learned it from an elder who was friends with him. But Lou Gossett, when he played fiddler in Roots, he offered to do the part for free, and I believe he got paid like nothing or next to nothing. And the reason he wanted to, because they wanted him for a different part. I can't remember. I think it was an overseer. But the reason he ended up playing fiddler is he said he wanted to show that the kora, the fiddle, came out of Africa. So he wanted to show the image of a melanin rich man playing the fiddle, because fiddler was not he wasn't originally going to be playing the fiddle, but he wanted to show that instrument came out of Africa. You know, I just love telling that story. I probably told it before, but I think it's just a great story, you know. But sometimes things that people do, like we say, all you got to do is just be. Stuff that I've never heard him even saying in an interview. You know, it's just like, I came, I saw, I conquered type of thing, you know.
Mission accomplished.
What's that?
No, it's a mission accomplished.
Right, exactly. It's a mission accomplished type thing. I showed this black man playing the fiddle, you know, like on network television, you know, and getting down with it, you know, like, yeah, that was beautiful, you know. So Yeah, man. Some instruments will call you like that, but you will find that primal instruments, they just have that. You got to have them around the house, man. I'll throw that in with Chris's list. If you're gonna have babies, man, you gotta have primal instruments around the house. Drums, xylophones, lots of drums. Because they're gonna break them. So you're gonna need backups. But definitely drums, xylophones, string instruments. And just keep them laying around. You don't have to do anything with them. They will crawl over to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My nana used to have she used to have a piano in the house. I say used to because I broke it by accident. But I used to go there. How do you
break a piano by accident? I just
take a sledgehammer to it.
No, what had happened
was this?
It was like a regular, like you stand, like I don't know, it's like a piano.
She got it from the sound store.
The type you stand on and do wrestling moves on top of. You know what I'm talking about.
Like a stand, like you close the stand up one. You kind of close it, like a pretty nice one, like an expensive one. It was expensive. But I used to go there and play after I ate. This one day I felt like I should play while I eat and drop the soup into the piano. What I was saying was,
how are you still alive?
Eating at the same time. How did that even happen? Like, how did you eat soup and play the piano at the same time?
That's what happens when you're a little boy and want to do multiple things at once. You want to pick your nose, play the piano, and eat food at the same time. That's what happened.
Oh my god!
That's what what I was trying to say was, I enjoyed having stuff around, be able to do that. Like my auntie was big on at certain nights, she would just play music and we just like hit the tambourine or hit the drums. Or my uncle's a DJ, like he makes his own. Kind of what Niall does, but he started a little earlier, so he's on one of the older platforms, and he would make a beat, and then we'd like have like rap night in the basement, and he would just like play one of the beats that he made or whatever, and we would just like try and make music to it. So each person would have their like own little 30 seconds of fame, and we would just make a song and stuff like that. And I actually made a song once when I was younger with my little cousin, because my uncle would just make us.
You know what he's building up to, right? You know where this is going, right?
Nah, nothing.
Nah, he ain't getting on none of my. Now you get on one of Niall's beats. You know where he's going with this.
I don't.
You can drop that 16 on one of Niall's beats. My songs are too slow. It's a different demographic. I'm really for older people. Your aunties, your cougars wouldn't understand your lyrics. But now he's got the perfect beats. I know where you're going with this.
A lot of Chief's music is like instrumental, so it's a lot of space in there.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be on no music. I'm gonna stick to my digital and physical art with a pencil and a paper.
There you go.
As a kid, though, it was fun to have that around because you got to experience it and see like if you actually had like a really strong leaning to it. That's what I was saying. I don't want to be on nobody's music. I ain't trying to sing or rap. But your music is kind of slow, Chief. Not gonna lie to you, it's kind of slow. Slow.
Yeah, my stuff is slow, man. You can't rap to it. But I'm subscribed to Niall's YouTube channel, man. He be doing little tutorials and stuff like that. He got some stuff you can spit over. You know what I mean? He ain't doing nothing. But those are throwaways. You just get a couple of his throwaways. But no, you're right, man. You got to have instruments in the house, man. And you got to have jam sessions if you can. If you can jam with your children, man, that's some of the most powerful things you could do. Because it equalizes the playing field. I always jam with my uncles and my pops and, everybody, you get handed something, whether it's a cowbell or a triangle or just a cymbal, you're going to play something, when your turn come around, it's time to go, but those things equalize the playing field because you also get to see everyone have fun. And it's important as a family to see each other when you're having fun or even when you're struggling. Like I've seen my uncles and my parents make mistakes. Like we playing and like, oh, you miss a beat and it's like, missed that one. And that's important sometimes for youth to see, to see like, oh, okay, we all trying to figure this thing out, but we can have fun while we're figuring it out at the same time. Yeah, man.
Like my brother, he got more deep into learning like the traditional rhythms of like Guinea and West Africa, that nature. And so he was studying under a teacher, and he used to come back and he would bring us different rhythms. And so like all my siblings and stuff, everybody drums. So when Pops was getting on like some of the doom doom parts, he like, is it like this or like doom doom doom? My brother's like, nah. Like you got it off right there. It's like this. And so now
I'm learning.
He's getting it. So everybody is seeing that, it's like what you said, everybody's seeing like, okay, Pops is still learning. He's getting it. Like everybody's doesn't necessarily just have it right now.
That's crazy. I assumed that Pops just taught all of y'all. Like that's interesting. I never knew that.
This was like probably like 2, maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah. Really? Okay, so little context. Like Niles Pops is like insane on the drum. Like insane. So when he's saying like, yeah, my brother went and got lessons, I'm like, huh? But it's interesting, to hear something like that. Because you can always learn, and then your children will branch out and bring something back to you. And sometimes too, like that may not be your concentration. Like that part, you'd be like, well, I know it, but that ain't really the part I'm listening out for, but that's very interesting. And, it's just very interesting when you talk about where you learn certain things from, because Niles Pops is the one who okay, so let me widen the context. So Niles' grandfather has taught a drum class since like the beginning of time, man. I don't know how long they've been up there. Like at the Aqua, forever. Let's just say forever. He's been teaching up there forever. But it was Niles' father who taught his father, who's Niles' grandfather, drum. He was playing before, but at the level that he's learned like now. Yeah, because he was playing what we call goombas. I got a goomba in the corner. Goomba was they were these drums that like they had out in the 70s. It was like everybody had like a goomba. It's a conga, but it was a conga. They were really good, and the reason I still have them is because they were actually made out of boat parts. And they made these drums. They like the hardware is so strong on them, but they're like almost impossible to play. Oh, this one's a goomba. That's crazy. Okay, the one I've been hitting on. This is a goomba in front of me. So he was playing goombas. I remember him sharing that. And then his son put him on to the West African drumming. So it's just, as I'm hearing now share that, it's like it's interesting sometimes where we get what we get it from. If we keep ourselves humble and open, it may come from unexpected places like that, Yeah. Word. All right, cool. So we're gonna close out, man. Oh, we had a lot in the chat. The chat was very active. I'm gonna give some of the give some I'll say give the drummer some. I'm gonna give some energy, to the chat. Damn, y'all. Okay, y'all were talking, so we had to say all this because y'all could have dialed in at any point. Logan. So, yeah, Logan's the homie, man. That's that's the bro right there. But we get you next time. Hopefully, Logan. He might be working too, though. He might be doing something. So, okay, talking about mosquitoes. I'm gonna try to get at least one of these. Anu radio, low bass for the sound system. Is the Kundalini at work in that scenario? I know you were talking about when I was talking about Yab Yum. Yeah, that's what is working. That is, you're connecting your two serpents to one another, Shiva and Shakti. So Logan says, makes sense to why there's only so much bachata. I can listen to it before I start feeling irritated. Just turn it all off. Yeah, that high. It's like, oh God. But I tell you one thing, if you want to get some really nice footwork in terms of your fighting, learn, like, dance to that bachata. That's why Mexican fighters, if you notice, their footwork is very froggy. They jump in and out of the pocket a lot, you know, and you don't like they do it. Like other fighters don't jump in and out as much. A lot of fighters, a lot of times, are more sure-footed, and that's from the bachata. It's from that style of dance where you're coming in and out, you know. And I learned that from a fellow coach. We were in the gym, and I walked in once, man. He had his guys. He was playing bachata, and I was like, "Yo, what the hell you doing?" And he was like, "Yeah, man, because a lot of my guys are Mexican." And what was crazy though, he had like 2 white guys on his squad, and they couldn't get it, so he's just making fun of them and stuff. He's like, "Yeah, like y'all ain't got it," but you know. But the Mexican brothers, they was killing it. So if you ever want to get your footwork right, like as far as movement and boxing, that bachata, it works really well. I noticed something. It works really well. There's also forms of up rock, which was like an older hip hop style of dancing. If you ever look up rock, there was a lot of fight movement in up rock because it was based off of a fight system, and they used a lot of bagua steps. Bagua is an 8-step system. The same bagua that if you look up like feng shui, look up a bagua map, and it shows you a map based on the directions and different elements, you know, wood, air, metal, you know, fire, things like that. But there's a whole, and there's actually I Ching, there's hexagrams that are associated with each direction. I feel like I taught this in a podcast years ago. But there's a step system around that 8-point diagram. And it's very, 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 it seems simple, but it's very, very powerful when you're learning fight stance. But anyway.
Avatar is a good example of that. Airbending in the Avatar, The Last Airbender. Airbending is based on Bagua.
He was doing Bagua. Oh, it was?
Yeah.
I knew it. Yeah, because he was doing Bagua movements. Yeah. And it looks very simple. It just looks like the person is turning this way. And that's basically what you're doing, but it's the angles. It's very effective. Yeah, that you absolutely right. It looked like he was doing Bagua steps. Okay, so I didn't know it was officially Bagua. Yeah. So Sovereignty says, yep, in the hood, Yafe, because the school I teach in have beautiful music space, right? Because you teach in a nice school, every wooden instrument you could think of, and the music teacher is a musician, right? See, that's over with, man. That's done, you know. Kel said, just so you know, Kelvante says he always enjoys a freestyle cipher. So I'm just kind of putting that out there. So when we see him, you know what I'm saying? We can pressure him for a quick hot 16. You know, maybe him and Raheem, you know, get something going.
They can remix Babylon Is Falling. They can remix
there you go. There you go. Oh, and now I'll do the beat.
That's your song.
You can do it over. You can do it over. I'll sample it. I didn't put no effort into that. You can do right over. So yeah, man. So see, I'm just kind of sliding through this just to give people, you know, let them know we was paying attention. You know, Sal Rennie says, yes, indeed. Not everyone knows how sweet it is to just listen to music and jump in together just for the love of playing with rhythm, which we will be doing at the retreat. The band Sweet Honey and the Rock, love Sweet Honey and the Rock, does this a lot, simple, silly, and fun. I always wanted to work for Sweet Honey and the Rock in some sort of capacity, like as a roadie, carried it. I mean, they sing a cappella, so they really ain't nothing to carry. Maybe they purse or something. But yeah, but I just love the whole concept of Sweet Honey and the Rock. Any of y'all ever get a chance to check them out? They're these older sisters, and they sing these a cappella songs. And I used to play them for my youth when they were babies, because they make like they have like lullaby sounding. It's very sweet sounding music, like, you know, like you just listening to mothers singing to their children almost. But the group is called Sweet Honey and the Rock. You know, but I had reached out to them, man. I was like, let me do something. You know, I got a studio, yeah, you know, but yeah, they wasn't biting. But I just loved the mission. Like, I loved the feeling that they were bringing. you know, in their music. They were almost like a lo-fi Take Six, you know. And I just love that energy they were bringing back. We need more of that. We need more Big Mama humming in the kitchen, you know. And they had some of that kind of energy. All right. So yeah, that's pretty much, if they make something new, we can't replicate it fast enough. This current formula works. Cancel all music programs in the hood. Yeah, but you know, even when they cancel the music program, we still be figuring stuff out. We figure it out. You know what I mean? We make stuff out of stuff that ain't supposed to be nothing made out of. Because the original stuff we was making, we wasn't supposed to make nothing out of that. 2 turntables scratching, messing up the belt drives and the turntables, but we figured it out. You know, then they was down in Trinidad taking the damn rotors off of the tires and hitting those and making bells out of the car rotors. You know, crazy Trinidadians. Don't get me started on the steel pan. That's for oil. That's not for music. That's for carrying oil. You know, they made a whole genre out of cutting up some oil, and they jerk some chicken, and you make some food off of that too. So, you know, it serves dual purpose. You know, so we find a way, because that's what deities do. You know, if you keep giving us garbage and we create garbage, we have proved ourselves as devil. That's what the devil does. No matter, you ever be in a conflict with somebody, and no matter what you say, they just want to keep it conflict. You're talking to a devil. They're functioning in the role as devil. But a deity or a higher frequency Elohim, nothing you throw at that Elohim turns bad. They turn everything good. And that's how they prove that they're actually God. You know, you ever see a situation with somebody where somebody does something to someone, and you're like, man, if that was me. And it seemed like nothing that's thrown at this person, that they react in a way that's low vibrational. It's like, well, you know, I'm praying for that person, or, you know, I hope everything works out. Yeah, they got a lot of problems they're going through, man. I hope everything works out. That's a God you're talking to. Everything they come at. What's that?
I'm sorry. There's a line in Coming to America that I always liked. It was Hakeem and the sister, the love interest. They were sitting on the swing set, and she was saying, "There's something about you where you're above anything petty." I always kept that in mind. But she saw the king in him. You're just above anything small or anything petty. You don't let anything phase you like that. You just.
I remember that. Yeah. Yeah. And you know, when you start vibrating at that point, it's a very scary place, because half the time you don't want to be there. You know, you want to be in the lower vibration so you can fit in with everyone. You know, it's like those situations where, like I remember telling someone something about my daughter once, because all my children are trained in martial arts. And I was like, yeah, but if my daughter's somewhere and like another girl hit her, she ain't gonna hit her back. She'd probably be like, why'd you do that? Like, she's one of them type of kids. Like, ow, don't hit me. You know, she's not going, like, but if she did, like, you better hope she don't hit you back, you know, right. But she probably wouldn't, because it's just not in her to want to hurt anyone, you know, and there's a value in that, where there's a royalty in that. But sometimes that could be scary, because, you know, people will be like, you better hit that person. Somebody put their hands on you. You better hit them back. You know, you hit them back. I don't need to come up to that school and talk to your principal, you know, and you got all that kind of action like that. And you might just be like, you know what? It's not really that big a deal.
Right. I used to do it where I would just keep stuff to myself. It's like, I'm not tripping.
Yeah, it's not, and that could be a scary place though. That could be scary, because you're hearing so much of the opposite, and you start feeling like, should I be flipping out? Like, maybe something's wrong with me. Maybe I don't care. Maybe I don't have any self-respect. I should be hurt. Right. You try to work it up. You be making noises, and it's like, nah, don't feel it. You know, and so that's an important, like, sort of transitioning point to be at. You'll find that even with those of you who suffer from certain addictions, you know, if you keep putting the work in, there'll come a point where you'll have to force the addiction. You know, you'd be like, man, you'd be looking down at your junk. I really don't feel like masturbating, but I usually masturbate around this time every day. So Probably should, just so I don't feel like I'll need to later. You know, because I gotta go somewhere tonight. I got a PTA meeting. So I guess I should rub one out now in case I feel awkward later. But it's like, no, like
January, 4 or 5 months ago.
Like, where's he going? Is there a bathroom here? Why's he going to the bathroom with the popcorn? And why'd you keep putting all that butter on the popcorn going in the bathroom? What's he doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, yeah, I just feel awkward, you know, but more butter, please. No, it is Sabbath. My bad. My bad, Elohim. You know, I so, but that's the thing. It's like you start to grow beyond your addictions, and it's like you start to force yourself because you feel scared. Like, I'm in a place where those vices are no longer what's necessary for me in order for me to function. I'm in a very weird place, and so you'll sometimes force yourself back into the vice, and that's when all, you know, hell will break loose, basically. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, you get to a point where it doesn't matter. What's that?
Some people do that with messed up friends too. Like, you know, you don't have no type of desire to be around this person. It's like, I don't need to be around this person. And all I'm going to do is get in a fight or get into an argument. But you still got to let them.
You'll force yourself to be around them, right? You just don't want to admit to yourself like it's over. You know, sometimes you gotta call it. You know, it's sometimes that way. There was an episode of Sisters like that where I forget the whole thing. I think I was half asleep watching it, but it was like they were decided like, man, maybe we need to end this friendship. Like, and one of them went to their therapist and was like, yeah, I think it's time to call it. It's time to call it. You know, and sometimes we have a council of friends with our vices. Our demons are like that, and we just don't want to say like, yeah, let's call it. Yeah, you know, relationship over. Let's just, yeah, it's cool. Let's call it. You know, and that's a hard place for us to come to, because what does the other side look like? You know, but I can tell you, it looks more and more like you just don't be caring. You just care about less and less and less and less till you care about nothing. And then that means the desire has been removed. And once all desire has been removed, then you experience what bliss really is. You know? But all right, I got to teach you jokers again at noon tomorrow. You know what I mean? So, yeah. You know what I mean? So, thank you everyone for participating in the chat. Like Beloved said, oh man, that was such a thing growing up. You could not come back home saying you didn't hit back. Tell me about it. You know? Tell me about it. I grew up in a family of ruffians. You know what I mean? And I just wanted to play my guitar and write poetry. It's like, no, you're going to be tough. You're going to be a bully like us. No, I don't want to be a bully like y'all. I just want to read my books. But yeah, I had to fight. So anyway, here we are, and we'll be back. Well, I will be back. These guys will probably be laid back, you know, not really doing nothing, like while I got to sit here and talk to y'all, you know what I mean, and break it down and be interesting and entertaining and all of that for an hour and a half to 2 hours. So I'll be doing that at noon Eastern, you know, where we'll be digging into part 2 of the polygyny or polygamy talks. But this one, and I noticed how the polygamy has pulled all you brothers out of the woodwork. Don't think I haven't noticed. You know what I mean? Because if I start talking about building businesses and character building, everybody's quiet. But meanwhile, I say, y'all got questions about polygamy? There's questions right in the comments that I will be reading and answering. But don't think I didn't notice. Okay, I just want to put that out there. I noticed.
No, but
okay.
You asked a direct question though, and you said, "I got any questions, put it in the comments."
Right. And it said, you know, I can catch that right now. Because we directly be like saying like, share, subscribe. 18 likes.
I be liking. I don't talking about me.
Yeah, everybody say they be like. I know I click like. So we got 16 left. So, you know, but it's all good. It's all good. I that's part of the thing I don't be caring about. And that's probably not that great, but I don't care. Like, we here. But yeah, man. So what I'll be talking about tomorrow is the dangers of polygamy. The dangers of polygamy, man. So and I will be answering those questions that were asked. You know, So I will that you all are getting something out of this series. You better be, man. And I hope you also catching the like, get yourself together before you start racking up a bunch of women. Kind of warning. I've been throwing out there pretty regular. I know y'all don't be listening to certain things, but you know that's kind of an important one, Raheem. You know, while you over there trying to get with your girls' moms, you know. So, ça passe, hey. He ain't slick. That's why he trying to learn Creole. He like, well, so yeah, you know, you young, you crazy. So yeah, man. But we'll be getting into it tomorrow. We're gonna dig into it some more. I think it's an exciting subject, to be honest. But you know, that's me. But noon tomorrow Eastern, we'll be right back. And you know, any questions or whatever, throw them in the chat. Even for this session, anything that stuck out to you, whatever, and I'll be going over them, you know, shortly. All right, everyone, enjoy your night, man. Peace, brothers.
Yes, thanks. Peace.
Thank you.
No, I do.